Chapter 1139 Coalescence. Chapter 1139 Coalescence. Jian Wushuang sat down cross-legged in the world of swords, concentrating on the tree in front of him. He continued to receive enlightenment. Simultaneously, he could faintly find his own path. It was a path that could lead him to turn the coalescence sword principle of the creation level into the strongest sword principle. Coalescence sword principle, namely unification sword, will unite everything in the same way the sea converges all rivers. All rivers flow into the sea. He gradually closed his eyes and began to carefully study the sword principle. He carefully observed the way the tree derived, and the image turned into a huge picture in his mind. There was a core in the middle of the picture, branching out into numerous light rays. What he was currently doing was integrating the countless lights into the core. His understanding of the coalescence sword principle deepened as time passed. It would have taken him years to figure out the way and direction to break through. However, being able to watch the tree grow in the world of swords made his task much simpler. Comprehension became much easier now that he had a direction in mind. 10 years passed just like that as he meditated. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes as he sat before the tree. His sword essence now completely changed. It used to be fierce and aggressive, but it was now like a huge black hole that swallowed everything around him. His sword essence was as deep as a bottomless pit. It was mysterious, magnificent, and ready to embrace the whole world. Coalescence sword principle is the first sword principle that I developed, and it's finally at its strongest level after continuous evolution. Jian Wushuang looked pleasantly surprised. In his 10 years in the world of swords, he had succeeded in advancing the coalescence sword principle through the continuous evolution in his mind. The coalescence sword principle of the strongest level could contain all sword principles of inferior levels. It could also contain his two other sword principles, speed sword principle and yin-yang sword principle, as they were only of the creation level. Just then, he felt an incorporeal fluctuation sweeping him. He was surprised. My time here is up just as I finished evolving the coalescence sword principle. Perfect timing. Jian Wushuang grinned. With a flash of light, he reappeared outside of the world of swords. He found himself standing in front of a tree that was neither as tall as the one in the world of swords or carried the same special sword essence. Sunrise Sword Emperor was waiting for him. Swoosh! Jian Wushuang walked out of the tree under a flickering light. Sunrise Sword Emperor was surprised when he saw Jian Wushuang. He was, after all, the #1 sword cultivator in the green fire world, and second to none in terms of sword principles. Sensitive to sword principles as he was, he could clearly sense the amazing change in Jian Wushuang. Congratulations, Jian Wushuang, Sunrise Sword Emperor said. Jian Wushuang laughed brightly. I could detect a majestic sword essence from you. It seems capable of containing everything. If I'm not mistaken, you must have developed a strongest sword principle, Sunrise Sword Emperor said. Yes, I've named it Coalescence Sword Principle, Jian Wushuang answered frankly. Coalescence Sword Principle? Unification Sword? Interesting. Sunrise Sword Emperor nodded. Since you've developed a strongest sword principle, I think you'll soon become a Tao Master, and then a Celestial Master. When that day comes, I'd like to have a battle with you. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded with a smile. Inside Jian Wushuang, Gu King laughed. He's gifted in sword principle, but lacks a broad outlook being confined in the green fire world. He doesn't realize your real potential. He wants to fight with you when you become a Celestial Master? That's unnecessary. You can even beat him after becoming a Tao Master. Well, Jian Wushuang was speechless. Well, let's go back, Sunrise Sword Emperor said. He then took Jian Wushuang back to Green Fire Palace quickly. Sunrise Sword Emperor excused himself after they arrived at the palace. Jian Wushuang also began his preparation to become a Tao Master. If he wanted to be a Tao Master from the Eternal Realm, the most crucial thing to do was developing his own path. Jian Wushuang had already developed his own path and fulfilled other factors for his breakthrough. He had been suppressing his level because he was waiting to develop a strongest sword principle. Now that he had succeeded, it was naturally time to become a Tao master. Nevertheless, he was an inverse cultivator. Compared to ordinary warriors, it was harder for him to break through and thus needed a complete preparation. You probably won't face any problems in breaking through, but as an inverse cultivator, you may cause a commotion. You might attract unnecessary attention if you make your breakthrough here, Gu King said. I see. Jian Wushuang gave a small nod. Since Tao masters were among top experts in the green fire world, it was normal for there to be a commotion when a warrior tried to advance into a Tao master. He would cause an even greater stir as an inverse cultivator. He had proven his potential with his absolute strength, and convinced many celestial masters of Green Fire Palace to acknowledge him. Since there was no need to show off again, he should find an isolated place and complete his breakthrough alone. Why don't you do it on the battlefield? The battlefield is massive, though there would be many experts of Green Fire Palace and the Jin Kingdom wandering around. It will be hard to come across any of them. I can find a secret place to break through there, and I doubt I'll be disturbed. Besides, I've planned to enter the battlefield after the breakthrough all along. With that, Jian Wushuang made up his mind. He then left for the battlefield once again. Few people knew about his departure, save for several palace masters and celestial masters whom he informed. However, Celestial Master Golden Axe somehow got wind of it. Chapter 1140 Breakthrough. Chapter 1140 Breakthrough. Jian Wushuang left for the battlefield again. Celestial Master Golden Axe muttered to himself after hearing about Jian Wushuang's departure. He's close to being as strong as a celestial master of the exceptional realm, and must have improved even more after returning from the world of swords. I don't think celestial masters of the exceptional realm can defeat him. It'd take a universe master to kill him. I must be patient. He has just left. If I ask about it immediately, he might suspect me. I'll wait and find a way to pinpoint his position after he's been on the battlefield for a while. With a plan in mind, Golden Axe also left for the battlefield soon after. Over on the battlefield, Jian Wushuang continued on the same path that he had gone through before. It took him 20 years to arrive at the Chiliwen Valley. Chiliwen Valley. Jian Wushuang stared at the massive pit in front of him. It was so mysterious at the bottom that he could not help wanting to investigate it. He recalled his narrow escape last time. He knew just how dangerous this valley was. When the blood-cold wind blew, even a universe master would be crushed into pieces, never mind him. This was the farthest place I reached when I came alone last time. Later on, I received the order to go to Dan Xian Palace. Since I'm going to venture on the battlefield once again, I'll just start from here. Jian Wushuang smiled. Since it's pretty desolate here, I don't think I'll come across other experts. I'll find a spot here to make my breakthrough. With a shift of his body, he appeared inside a palace atop a mountain in the Chiliwen Valley and sat down cross-legged. He waved his hand and many elixirs appeared in front of him, each of which would help him during the process. Besides, he also activated a formation. It was the Spirit Gathering formation that covered a small parameter. It could converge more heaven and earth spiritual energy and help with his breakthrough. Now fully prepared, he took a deep breath and then closed his eyes. As he moved, a horrible force quickly spread in all directions. It caused the heaven and earth spiritual energy that the Spirit Gathering formation gathered to pour into his body. Before long, the energy collected in him reached a saturation point. It's beginning. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes, revealing a pair of gleaming pupils. His Blood Mountain sword appeared in his hand. Break! He brandished Blood Mountain sword following a shout. Under the guidance of the coalescent sword principle, a horrible sword shadow burst forth and cleave a towering mountain thousands of miles away in half. The bottleneck in his body trembled under the pressure of the sword principle, but did not immediately break down. Again, Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold. Instead of getting frustrated, he brandished his sword again. He brandished his sword again and again. Meanwhile, the vast spiritual power accumulated in his body continued to frantically attack the bottleneck. His face began to pale after dozens of attempts. His mouth was bleeding too. Even so, the bottleneck remained the same. I didn't expect it to be so hard, he muttered in disbelief. If you're a normal warrior, you would have already succeeded. This level of difficulty is expected for you as an inverse cultivator, Gu King said. Be patient. You can continue accumulating spiritual power like. I think it will work after another dozen times. Jian Wushuang nodded, and then quickly swallowed the elixirs in front of him. The elixirs poured abundant spiritual power into his body. Go on. Keep breaking. Jian Wushuang shouted as he once again brandished his sword. This time, he used Heaven's Bane. Heaven's Bane, powerful with irresistible force, was developed based on the yin-yang sword principle. This time, he used it alongside the coalescence sword principle, and it turned out to be even more powerful. The coalescence sword principle contained thousands of sword principles. Since the yin-yang sword principle was not the strongest, it was included as well. The coalescence sword principle, as a result, could perfectly demonstrate Heaven's Bane and make it even stronger. Death Shadow could be used in the same way. Death Shadow could also be used perfectly with the help of the coalescence sword principle. Boom! His mouth bled again, but this time, his eyes were gleaming. He could sense a crack in the bottleneck. The bottleneck was about to break down. Even a small leak would sink a great ship. With a crack in the bottleneck, the rest would be easy to handle. Again, Jian Wushuang clenched his teeth and brandished his sword again. This time, he used Death Shadow. Boom! The crack in the bottleneck became bigger. Go on. Jian Wushuang brandished his sword again and again, crazily lashing at the bottleneck. The crack in the bottleneck became bigger and bigger until the entire bottleneck snapped. Jian Wushuang trembled sharply and bellowed as the bottleneck inside him collapsed completely. I made it. I'm a Dao Master. His eyes glinted with golden light. The moment his bottleneck collapsed, vast spiritual power coursed through his 8 extraordinary meridians. His aura also skyrocketed at an amazing speed. Boom! Changes occurred in the universe as his breakthrough affected everything around him. Dark clouds gathered above him. A majestic aura ripped through the world, exerting such great pressure that he could not stop it from spreading in all directions. Suddenly, the majestic aura bathed the radius of 1,000,000 miles around him. Jian Wushuang could clearly feel everything around him, from the void to the earth itself, shiver under the force of his power. It was as if he was the master of this universe. Chapter 1141. Fourth Step in Defying Natural Order. Eternal Supremo. Chapter 1141. Fourth Step in Defying Natural Order. Eternal Supremo. I knew I'd cause a commotion when I break through, but I didn't expect it to be so great. Shocked, Jian Wushuang watched the aftermath of his breakthrough unfold from the palace atop the mountain. It was common for a person making a breakthrough to cause a commotion, but Jian Wushuang's was on another scale. His majestic aura could cause even celestial masters to shudder, not to mention mere Dao masters. Such an impact when I'm just a Dao master. Wonder what will happen when I become a celestial master or something more powerful. Jian Wushuang began to look forward to seeing such a scene in the future. He could also sense great changes taking place in his body, as his aura completely transformed. The change was a kind of metamorphosis. His body, his bones, muscles, cells, and even breaths had undergone an innate metamorphosis. It feels so good, Jian Wushuang exclaimed in admiration. It was such a comfortable and relaxing process that he could not help submerging himself in. The metamorphosis lasted for nearly half a day until everything finally calmed down. His magnificent and valiant aura also gradually calmed down, and the whole world was quiet again. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and slowly stood up. Just then, a cracking sound came from his body. He had obviously sat here for less than a day, but he felt as if he had stayed here for thousands of years, or even longer. So this is how it feels to be a Dao master. Jian Wushuang subconsciously looked down at his palm. He spread his fingers and made a fist. Crack! He crushed the space near his hand into smithereens, and caused an explosion in the air. He could clearly feel how explosive his power was. I already have the sturdy body of a 3-star ancient god of imperial kinsman, but my body feels several times stronger now. In terms of spiritual power, I think I'm more than 10 times stronger. His eyes glinted with golden light. Undoubtedly, there was a large gap between an Eternal Realm expert and a Dao master. He was dozens of times stronger in terms of spiritual power alone. Being an inverse cultivator, it was natural for him to burst with spiritual power after becoming a Dao master. More importantly, he now commanded better control over his Daos, and their power would naturally be stronger as well. This was particularly true for Jian Wushuang, who became a Dao master with the help of the strongest sword principle. If he unleashed the might of his Dao, he would be very formidable. Powerful. I feel so powerful. His eyes gleamed with delight. He had never felt this powerful in his entire life. He felt fearless enough to confront even a universe master. Hurry and check how you've changed after becoming a Dao master, Gu King urged. Right. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. Being both a practitioner of the heavenly creation skill and an inverse cultivator, his every step was in defiance of the natural order. Naturally, the outcome would be extraordinary as well. He would, of course, be different from ordinary warriors. When he was still in the external realm, he was equipped with the ability of an everlasting realm expert. He was strong enough to defy heavens. Now that he was a Dao master, the fourth step in defying the natural order of the heavenly creation skill, dubbed Eternal Supremo, there ought to be changes in him. Jian Wushuang began to carefully examine himself. Oh, what's this? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He detected a strange black flame in his sea of consciousness out of nowhere. It was faint as if it might be snuffed at any minute. However, he could feel a special power coming from this flame. It was greatly similar to his consciousness. Is that soul fire? Gu King cried in a weird voice. Soul fire? Jian Wushuang asked in confusion. Impossible. That's impossible. Gu King's voice was frantic. You're a mere Dao master. How can you have soul fire? Impossible. That's absolutely impossible. When King Luozhen almost reached the topmost level of the eternal chaotic world, he finally managed to light his soul fire after making great efforts and paying a great cost. You're just a Dao master. You're far from being as powerful as King Luozhen. Why can you light your soul fire? Jian Wushuang became speechless from amazement. He knew little about fire of soul, but judging from Gu King's reaction, it must be something extraordinary. Inverse cultivation is truly a monstrosity. Considering how monstrous it is, no wonder heavenly laws disallow it. Gu King continued to be in shock for a long time, before he finally calmed down. However, his emotions remained complicated. Gu King, what's going on? What's soul fire? Jian Wushuang asked, finding it to be strange. Gu King was momentarily silent before he answered in a cold voice. Kid, you got lucky. What do you mean? Jian Wushuang asked curiously. Well, soul fire is evolved from your consciousness. I'm sure you're able to sense how the strange power in your soul fire is in complete harmony with your consciousness. Yes. Jian Wushuang gave a small nod. That's the soul power evolved from your consciousness, Gu King explained. You should be clear how strange and wondrous a person's consciousness can be. You can even call it illusory, for it can't take tangible form despite existing in one's mind. For example, your consciousness attack is immaterial. Basically, your consciousness isn't tangible. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded. One's consciousness without a shape or size could not be substantial. However, when a person becomes strong enough to a certain level, his consciousness will gradually take shape and finally evolve into a complete soul. Meanwhile, the power of consciousness will metamorphose into soul power. Soul power is far stronger than consciousness. It can be materialized into anything. Some top experts in the eternal chaotic world can turn their soul power into magic weapons for battles, form doppelgangers or more. But that's an incredibly difficult skill. Is it that powerful? Jian Wushuang was astonished. Chapter 1142 Strength of Soul. Chapter 1142 Strength of Soul. Of course. Strength of soul is indeed a formidable force, said Gu King. It's versatile. It'll even become the focus of your cultivation, once your levels are as high as those of King Luozhen, or the founder of the Star Bloodline. Every expert is willing to try all means to improve his, or her strength of soul. In the beginning, almost every expert is just barely able to ignite his or her fire of soul. At that time, it'll look like a tiny spark. With the advancing of your cultivation, it'll gradually grow strong and powerful. That said, it's extremely difficult to turn the tiny spark into a formidable force. In Eternal Chaotic World, almost every expert made an arduous effort to cultivate his or her consciousness, but most of them could not succeed in gaining this formidable strength of soul. However, you, a person who adapt an inverse cultivation method, and have just become a Tao master, are able to ignite your fire of soul. That's incredible! Gu King exclaimed while thinking in astonishment. The probability of someone igniting his or her fire of soul is extremely low. How come this Jian Wushuang, a practitioner of inverse cultivation, could manage to do that when he reached just the 4th level of his cultivation? That's really enviable. I'm happy to hear you say so. Well, I'm lucky to ignite this fire of soul, but I really want to know what it can do for me right now, when I'm still far below the levels of King Luozhen. Asked Jian Wushuang. What it can do for you right now? It can help you a lot, way beyond your imagination, said Gu King. For example, in the past, if you wanted to make a thorough search of this battlefield in front of you, you could only rely on your Scarlet Eye secret skill, namely your eyes and your extremely weak psychic ability. However, now you can use your strength of soul to do that. Are you saying that I can use my strength of soul to search an area? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise, and then quickly activated his strength of soul, contained in his fire of soul. He found it easy to manipulate this strength of soul. It was just like controlling his consciousness. The next moment, he felt his strength of soul gradually spreading out, and in the meantime, he discovered that a detailed map of the battlefield somehow formed in his mind. All the details about his surroundings were depicted on this map, including those that he could never detect with just his eyes and psychic ability. For instance, with the help of his strength of soul, he suddenly found out that there was something special about a piece of red rock, which he had come across before. Now he knew for sure that this piece of red rock contained very valuable minerals. Wow, I can see everything this clearly, Jian Wushuang exclaimed in amazement and wonder. Take it easy. There are more surprises ahead. Continue to spread out your strength of soul, said Gu King. Upon hearing Gu King's remarks, Jian Wushuang further diffused his strength of soul, trying to cover a larger area. The next moment he got shocked. What? This strength of soul can extend to several million kilometers, and it still keeps extending? Exclaimed Jian Wushuang. It can extend to 15 million kilometers, said Gu King. Jian Wushuang widened his eyes in astonishment. A Tao master, no, even a holy master, is only able to see things at most 500,000 kilometers away with the help of his or her psychic ability. However, with the help of strength of soul, now I can see things 15 million kilometers away. That's amazing, thought Jian Wushuang. Now, Jian Wushuang, try your consciousness attack again, Gu King said smilingly. A consciousness attack? Jian Wushuang asked surprisedly. He quickly activated his strength of soul again to display his mind-controlling secret skill. The next moment, his black-colored strength of soul rushed out into the air and cohered into a spine. Although it did not hit any target since he had not aimed at anything, he still noticed the remarkable ferocity and momentum in the spine. This consciousness attack fueled by his strength of soul was more than 10 times stronger than his regular consciousness attack. This, Jian Wushuang was stunned. Strength of soul is a multipurpose miracle force, but now all you can do with your strength of soul is searching and attacking, since you've just ignited your fire of soul, and your strength is still weak. When your strength of soul grows stronger, you'll find out more about it. Anyway, you really impressed me by igniting your fire of soul as a Tao master. Remember to keep nourishing your soul in the future. When your cultivation levels are as high as those of King Luozhen, your strength of soul is definitely going to amaze the world, said Gu King solemnly. Jian Wushuang put a smile on his face upon hearing that. Although he was not sure what was going to happen in the future, he was really pleased with his recent progress. At least his consciousness attack was much stronger than before. That meant the ferocity of his sheer shadow strike, and even his battle strength would also be increased. I've made huge leaps in my cultivation by creating the strongest sword principle and becoming a Dao master. Considering my current powers, I'll definitely be able to summon a much stronger blaze quicksand realm. And now, I'm even bestowed with this amazing strength of soul. I've never imagined that I can be so powerful, Jian Wushuang thought while clenching his fists in excitement. Unfortunately, although I've reached the levels of a Dao master, I've not yet increased my ancient god power, or mastered more advanced blood-killing plate armor secret skills, other than the most elementary ones. Worse still, after reaching the 4th stage of my inverse cultivation, I'm no longer in eternal realm. That means I'm going to lose the ability to make my life everlasting. With this in mind, Jian Wushuang could not help but sigh. There were 3 stages of mastering blood-killing plate armor secret skills. By mastering only the stage 1 skills, Jian Wushuang had drastically increased his offensive power by 10 times. If he had mastered the stage 2 skills by now, his powers would have been further increased. Compared to that, leaving Eternal Real caused a more realistic problem to Jian Wushuang. He could no longer keep his life everlasting. In the past, he had been capable of incorporating his life core into all the cells in his body. As such, he had always been able to come back to life, even if there was only 1 drop of his blood left in this world. However, he could not do that anymore after becoming a Dao master, since his life core was pushed out of his cells now. Fortunately, he became more resilient in physiological responses to recurrent damage. Well, my gains and losses seem to offset each other, but my current level of battle strength is several notches above my original level. With this in mind, he gradually calmed down. Before long he arrived at the Chiliwen Valley. Jian Wushuang stared in rapture at a seemingly bottomless sinkhole at the bottom of the valley. There must be a treasure lying at the bottom of the hole. Let me try my newly gained strength of soul. Maybe I'll be able to see the inside of the hole, he said as he started to diffuse his strength of soul. With a buzzing sound, his strength dived into the hole. After a moment, when his strength went several thousands kilometers down into the hole, he clearly felt that there was an extremely cold energy, hindering the advancement of his strength. He worked up his strength of soul, his face becoming solemn from the exertion, but he only managed to push his strength another 500 kilometers forward. He frowned and said, "What a strange thing. My strength of soul seems to be blocked by something down there." There's indeed a treasure placed at the bottom of the Chiliwen Valley. It's extremely cold, and has abundant yin energy. It's not surprising that it's able to stop your strength of soul from getting into the depths of the hole. After all, your reservoir of strength is still feeble, said Gu King. Chapter 1143. Everything is ready. Chapter 1143. Everything is ready. What a pity, sighed Jian Wushuang. Excited by his newly gained strength of soul, he had thought that it would have been easy for him to see the bottom of the Chiliwen Valley, and had never expected his survey to be suddenly blocked by something more powerful than his strength. It seems that I can only wait until my levels of cultivation or my strength of soul get improved before getting here to check the situation in the hole again. Jian Wushuang sighed in his heart while shaking his head. He left this place and continued his journey on this battlefield. As a powerful Dao master now, Jian Wushuang was more confident about himself than before, but he still remained cautious during his journey. Soon 8 years had passed. During these 8 years, he had never run into any expert from the Gold Kingdom or the Green Fire Palace. As such, none of his old acquaintances knew that he had already become a Dao master. One day, something unexpected happened. My young friend Jian Wushuang, a man sent a message to him. Golden Axe Holy Master. Jian Wushuang immediately recognized the man's voice and cordially greeted this venerated elder of the Green Fire Palace. "I heard that you're exploring the battlefield alone?" asked Golden Axe Holy Master. "Yes," Jian Wushuang nodded and replied. "Is there anything I can do for you, Golden Axe Holy Master?" "Yes. I'm also exploring the battlefield alone and get into some trouble now. I need 3 holy masters with great exceptional realm to help me out, but I found only one such expert by far. I've just heard that you're also on the battlefield, so I contact you," said Golden Axe Holy Master. "Oh, I see," Jian Wushuang said smilingly. As both of them were experts from the Green Fire Palace, it's natural for Golden Axe Holy Master to ask him for help on the battlefield. Moreover, what Golden Axe Holy Master needed now was experts with great exceptional realm. As there were just a small number of experts with such high-level battle strength in the Green Fire Palace, it was not an easy job for even Golden Axe Holy Master to find 3 of them on the battlefield. Jian Wushuang did not feel surprised that Golden Axe Holy Master contacted him. "For you, of course, I'll go to help you, but I don't know if I'll be in time for your rescue," said Jian Wushuang. "Where are you now?" Golden Axe Holy Master asked casually. "Here's my current location." Jian Wushuang shared his location with Golden Axe Holy Master without hesitance. After getting Jian Wushuang's location, Golden Axe Holy Master also sent his current location to Jian Wushuang. "I'm here far away from you. Even if you rush to me at full speed, it'll take you more than 100 years to get here. You can never make it in time," Golden Axe Holy Master said while smiling bitterly. "Wow, are we that far apart?" Jian Wushuang exclaimed, and then looked at the Golden Axe Holy Master's location. He shook his head and added, "I'm sorry, Golden Axe Holy Master. I'm more than willing to help you out, but unable to do so." "That's all right. I'll contact the other experts with great exceptional realm to see if any of them can make it in time." With these words, Golden Axe Holy Master was off the line. Jian Wushuang shrugged his shoulders and took his mind off this problem. After that, he continued his journey. He did not know that hundreds of millions of kilometers away, Golden Axe Holy Master had already shared his location with the top-notch experts of the Jin Kingdom in a special way. "I've done everything I can, and now, the next move rests with you, Tianhuan King," thought Golden Axe Holy Master. In the meantime, 3 experts of the Jin Kingdom gathered together at their headquarters. One of them was a young man dressed in a black robe. He had a bony face and 2 piercing eyes. He was Tianyin King, who had once engaged Jian Wushuang in battle. As for the other 2, one was a beautiful and icy woman, and the other was a very tall and well-built man. The former was Tianhuan King, and the latter was Golden Rock King. Both of them were among the top 9 kings of the Jin Kingdom. "Axe has sent us the current location of Jian Wushuang. He's here." While saying this, Tianyin King took out a map and pointed his finger at a marked place on it. "That region is quite far away from our headquarters. We need at least decades to get there, even if we travel at our full speed. Fortunately, it's near to a secret base under our control. That base is a special place. It has a space wormhole," said Tianhuan King, the beautiful and icy woman. "Such being the case, we'd better waste no time staying here. Let's set off right now," said Golden Rock King. As such, the 3 kings set out, followed by quite a lot of holy masters of the Jin Kingdom. They quickly arrived at their secret base through the wormhole. After that, they spent a year traveling on foot before reaching the region where Jian Wushuang was. According to the message from Axe, Jian Wushuang was in this region a year ago. "He must still be hanging around here," said Tianyin King. "Yes, if nothing else, he must be somewhere nearby. However, as this region is large, it won't be easy for us to find him," said Golden Rock King. "No doubt it'll be troublesome for us to search for him, but we can figure out a way to attract him here into our trap," said Tianhuan King. "Attract him into our trap? How can we do that?" Tianyin King and Golden Rock King asked simultaneously, while turning their gaze toward Tianhuan King. "That's easy," Tianhuan King said smilingly, while lifting up one of her hands. On her palm stood a fascinating treasure, which had already recognized her as its owner. It was a 7-story pagoda, which was aquamarine in color. Tianhuan King activated her mental power to disconnect it from herself. Tianhuan, what are you doing? Both Tianying King and Golden Rock King were shocked upon seeing that, as they knew how important this treasure was to Tianhuan King. I've owned this 7 stars pagoda for years. It has already become a part of me. It'll remain under my control even if I disown it now, Tianhuan King said smilingly. Tianhuan, are you planning to use it to lure Jian Wushuang here? Asked Tianying King. Yes. He comes to this battlefield for treasures, so I deliberately disowned this 7 stars pagoda. I'll let this treasure emerge on the battlefield in an eye-catching way. If Jian Wushuang is still in this region, he'll come here right after he notices the emergence of the treasure, replied Tianhuan King. Great idea, so let's get started, said Golden Rock King. Tianhuan King nodded, and then released her 7 stars pagoda, letting it fall toward the ground. Boom! In an instant, the treasure stood and grew on the battlefield, causing a large-scale impact on its surrounding environment. The impact was so great that it affected a radius of hundreds of millions of kilometers, shaking the heavens and the earth. Tianhuan King and her partners hid in this 7 stars pagoda, lying in wait for Jian Wushuang. Now everything is ready. All we need to do is to wait for Jian Wushuang to step into this trap, thought the kings excitedly. Chapter 1144, 7 Stars Pagoda. Chapter 1144, 7 Stars Pagoda. The emergence of a treasure like 7 Stars Pagoda would naturally cause a huge impact on the surrounding environment, especially when Tianhuan King was deliberately enhancing its impact. As such, Jian Wushuang, who still remained in this region, immediately felt the impact the moment the treasure emerged. Wow, that's impressive. Is it caused by the emergence of a treasure? Jian Wushuang thought excitedly, his eyes brightened. As there were countless treasures that might pop out randomly on this battlefield, he thought that it was not surprising that he could come across some treasures that had just emerged. I have to hurry up, he said to himself and set off. Several days later, he discovered an aquamarine pagoda, which had an aura of dominance. Standing in front of the pagoda, he exclaimed, "What a strong aura field! Only a chaos magic treasure can have such an aura. Yes, it must be a chaos magic treasure." Excitement flickered in his eyes. Yes, it's a chaos magic treasure, and the kind with special powers. It's much more valuable than those chaos magic treasures, which can only be used as weapons during a fight, Gu King observed. Wow! Such a precious thing emerged, and I happened to be the first one who discovered it. What a coincidence, said Jian Wushuang surprisedly. Did all the experts from the Green Fire Palace and the Jin Kingdom happen to wander in the other regions of the battlefield? Am I the only one here in this region right now? Well, probably, said Gu King. Jian Wushuang, go enter the pagoda. Maybe you'll be able to make it recognize you as its owner. Before entering the aquamarine pagoda, Jian Wushuang searched it with his strength of soul to make sure that everything was all right. The moment he stepped into it, Tianhuan King, Tianying King and Golden Rock King, who were hiding inside the pagoda, revealed sinister smiles on their faces. That brat is quite cautious. Fortunately, we chose to hide inside the pagoda. Protected by the pagoda, he'll never discover us, said Tianhuan King. Jian Wushuang has already been lured into our trap. You can go finish him off right now, Tianhuan King. Golden Rock King urged. Don't rush. Trust me. This brat won't be able to come out of the pagoda alive. Tianhuan King said while smiling confidently. Look, he has already fallen into my trap. Jian Wushuang found himself surrounded by numerous treasures upon entering this pagoda. He felt as if he had entered a large treasure vault. He glanced around and saw countless shelves filled with treasures. This place seemed to have just about every treasure he could wish for. More importantly, these treasures also appeared to be highly valuable. Is this one a chaos magic treasure? Jian Wushuang thought in disbelief. Yes, it is, and it's not the only chaos magic treasure here. This place has 10 chaos magic treasures. And the bracelet over there, its aura field is much stronger than that of a chaos magic treasure. Is it a chaos divine treasure? Jian Wushuang looked at the treasures in this large house one by one. All of them were of high value, which made Jian Wushuang feel somewhat overwhelmed. He continued to look at those treasures and gasped in admiration from now and then. However, he did not look overjoyed, and his eyes were calm and unwavering. Faced with such a treasure vault filled with priceless treasures, an ordinary person would be extremely excited or ecstatically happy. Nevertheless, Jian Wushuang still managed to remain calm. A few chaos magic treasures would be enough, and the chaos divine treasure is really too much. Do you really believe that I'm such a fool? You're really naive enough to think that you can deceive me with such an illusion. With this in mind, Jian Wushuang sneered, and then widely opened the red eye between his eyebrows, while diffusing his strength of soul. Swoosh! The next moment, the treasure vault shattered and disappeared. Jian Wushuang found himself standing on a glittering ground. Now he was on the bottom floor of 7 Stars Pagoda. When he looked up, he could see all the 6 floors above himself, and a luminous aquamarine pearl at the top of the pagoda. That pearl was as large as an adult's head, and giving off a strange glow. Jian Wushuang was standing on the bottom floor with his long sword on his back, and a faint smile on his face. Upon seeing that, Tianhuan King's pupils constricted. This brat has seen through the illusion I've created in my 7 Stars Pagoda. Well, he's really something, said Tianhuan King. What happened? Tianhuan King, Tianying King and Golden Rock King looked at her and asked. It's just a little accident, Tianhuan King replied plainly. That brat must have mastered some special secret skill, which enables him to see through the illusion I created. With these words, she cast a glance at the red eye located between Jian Wushuang's eyebrows. She believed it to be the reason for Jian Wushuang being able to smash the illusion she had created. The illusion is gone, but it's not a big deal. I'll crush him with a fierce consciousness attack, said Tianhuan King. She launched the second round of attacks on Jian Wushuang while looking coldly at him. The luminous aquamarine pearl began to spin, and then shot out a beam of aquamarine light at Jian Wushuang. At the bottom floor of 7 Stars Pagoda, Jian Wushuang quickly noticed that a beam of light was dashing toward him at an amazingly high speed, but he did not dodge, since he knew that it was impossible to escape from the light. He stayed in the same place until the beam of aquamarine light hit him. Boom! It turned out to be a formidable consciousness attack. With great ferocity and destructive powers, this consciousness attack was far more intense than all the previous ones that Jian Wushuang had suffered. It was strong enough to destroy a person's consciousness. Even Jian Wushuang himself could not do that. He was only able to use his consciousness attacks to make his target lose his or her mind temporarily. Someone wants to annihilate my consciousness with this beam of aquamarine light, thought Jian Wushuang. Humph! He snorted, his countenance grew grim. And then he suddenly lifted up his head to stare at the luminous aquamarine pearl. What? Tianhuan King exclaimed in astonishment. I've used 7 Stars Pagoda's powers to launch this consciousness attack. No one below the levels of a universe master is able to resist it. However, this brat fended it off. Why? Tianhuan King thought in disbelief. She had thought that it would have been just a piece of cake for her to kill this Jian Wushuang before. However, now Jian Wushuang was still alive, and well, even when he was trapped in her 7 Stars Pagoda, and had suffered 2 rounds of attacks from her. Humph, I don't believe it. No matter how strong you are, you're now trapped in my 7 Stars Pagoda, and completely under my control. Even if I can't kill you with a consciousness attack, I can directly crush you with my powers here. With this in mind, Tianhuan King groaned and swished her hands. Suddenly, the entire 7 Stars Pagoda began to shake. Jian Wushuang saw 2 dreadful forces become solid in the void in front of himself. They looked like 2 giant hands, and these 2 hands obviously intended to trap and crumble him. Chapter 1145, 3 Universe Masters. Chapter 1145, 3 Universe Masters. You want to suppress me? Jian Wushuang sneered, and then swished one of his hands to summon a golden gourd. He pulled out its plug to release blaze quicksand. Soon enough, his blaze quicksand turned into a violent storm, ripping the two giant hands into pieces. Even Seven Stars Pagoda started shivering under the impact of the storm. How did he do that? Tianhuan King thought in astonishment. What treasure does he hold in his hand? Even my Seven Stars Pagoda can't withstand its attack. Alas, I can't take it anymore. If this storm continues, my pagoda will be destroyed. With this in mind, Tianhuan King became increasingly pale. She quickly waved her hands to open the gates of the pagoda. The blaze quicksand rushed out of the pagoda. So did Jian Wushuang. Shoo! Jian Wushuang revealed himself in the void, surrounded by quite a lot of remaining blaze quicksand. 3 experts popped out in front of him, coming with amazing auras. This aura is... Jian Wushuang looked at them with a frown. One of them must be Tianyin King. But who are the other 2? Their auras are as strong as, no, slightly stronger than that of Tianyin King. Wait a minute, the 2 are universe masters. No, all the 3 of them are universe masters, thought Jian Wushuang. It seems that the Jin Kingdom really takes me seriously. It even sends 3 universe masters to ambush me. Jian Wushuang said smilingly. You brat, did you discover us in the pagoda in the very beginning? Tianhuan King asked while looking coldly at Jian Wushuang. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded and replied without hesitation. Before entering Seven Stars Pagoda, he had believed it to be a newly emerged treasure instead of a trap. He had even been looking forward to getting the pagoda to recognize him as its owner. However, upon entering this place, his strength of soul quickly detected that there were 3 experts hiding inside this pagoda. As such, he realized that he had stepped into a trap set by his enemies from the Jin Kingdom. He was not afraid after knowing that it was a trap, since now he was much stronger than before. Jian Wushuang, your aura gets stronger. If I guess correctly, you've already reached the levels of a Dao Master, haven't you? Tianyin King looked at Jian Wushuang and asked. He had engaged Jian Wushuang in battle before, and thus knew this young man better than the other 2 universe masters did. The last time Tianyin King had met with Jian Wushuang, he could tell from the young man's aura that he still remained at the level of Eternal Realm. But now Jian Wushuang's aura was exceptionally strong, and it appeared even more powerful than that of an ordinary holy master. Yes, I have. It's just a sheer fluke, Jian Wushuang replied smilingly. You're a Dao Master now. No wonder you could stay calm and collected after realizing that the pagoda was a trap. Tianyin King squinted his eyes and said, But even if you're Dao Master now, faced with us you're dead. I'm dead? I don't think so. Jian Wushuang sneered. Tianyin King, why bother talking so much with him? Just go ahead and finish him off. If you guys are not ready, I'll go first. With these words, Golden Rock King, who was obviously the most impatient person among the 3 universe masters, came at Jian Wushuang, a giant axe in each of his hands. His arm muscles bulged so much that blue veins stood out on them. He poked through the void and dashed toward Jian Wushuang with amazing speed and ferocity. Even a holy master would shudder with fear in the face of such a combative universe master. However, Jian Wushuang got somewhat bloodthirsty, and even smiled upon seeing that. The next moment Gu King said to him, Jian Wushuang, the levels of these 3 universe masters in front of you aren't very high. With your current powers, you can defeat any one of them in a one-on-one fight, but you can't take on 3 universe masters at once. Fortunately, you have Blaze Quicksand Gourd. Once you summon Blaze Quicksand Realm, they won't be able to resist it. At that time, you can stay or leave as you wish. I know, said Jian Wushuang. However, this fight has just begun. I don't plan to use my Blaze Quicksand Gourd prematurely. He had his own plan. He had just become a Dao Master, and experienced a surge in his powers. He had been looking forward to fighting against some well-matched opponents to see how great his new powers were. For him, these 3 kings from the Jin Kingdom came just in time. He would have never wanted to miss such a wonderful opportunity. Well, I'll play with them for some time before leaving this place with the help of my Blaze Quicksand Gourd. But just in case, I need to report this incident to my palace masters. With these words, He sent a message to his palace masters. After that, he summoned his Blood Mountain sword and confronted Golden Rock King. "You brat, you're dead!" Golden Rock King shouted, as he struck a giant axe at Jian Wushuang with shocking ferocity. The axe had already been expanded to more than 3 meters long, and was now enveloped in clouds, which were blood red in color. Boom! Loud friction sound could be heard as the axe cracked through the void. It sounded as if even the heavens and the earth could not withstand the impact. Jian Wushuang still looked calm. Since reaching the levels of a Dao master, his strength had been significantly upgraded. At this moment, the ancient god power inside his body was surging wildly. So was his spiritual power. His powers would vent out at any minute. Heaven's Bane! Jian Wushuang shouted out the name of his move. A strong killing intent flickered in his eyes. The next moment, a dazzling beam of intense sword light was shot out. Heaven's Bane was the most powerful offensive skill amongst all the techniques of his swordplay of coalescence. As its name implied, Heaven's Bane could shake the sky so much so that it would look as if it were about to shatter into pieces at any minute. Before the dreadful sword light hit the ground had begun to shatter. A crack as long as several thousand kilometers could be seen below the sword light now. Is he serious? He's just become a Dao master, and he dares to butt heads with Golden Rock King? Is he that eager to die? Tianhuan King and Tianying King were stunned upon seeing Jian Wushuang's reaction. They stayed near to Golden Rock King, but none of them felt it necessary to join the fight to help their partner at this moment. Boom! Jian Wushuang's sword essence suddenly turned into a shower of swords raining down on his enemy and poking numerous black holes in the void. Jian Wushuang shook his body and then darted toward Golden Rock King like a bullet. He slammed into the king, causing him to retreat a dozen steps from his original place. For every step he took, he stamped on a piece of the void, smashing it into pieces. "Haha, come at me again!" Jian Wushuang's laughter resounded in the void, and before his enemies realizing what had happened, he appeared in front of them again, calm and steady. The moment he took a firm stand in the void, he readied himself to launch the second round of attacks. He rushed toward Golden Rock King again with an amazing aura. His aura was as strong as before, which meant that he did not get hurt at all during his previous clash with the Universe Master. Chapter 1146, A Fierce Battle. Chapter 1146, A Fierce Battle. Buzz! Jian Wushuang brandished his Blood Mountain sword again, sending out a beam of sword light. It cracked through the void and quickly expanded into a shining sword river. He approached Golden Rock King and launched an all-out attack on the latter. His eyes brightened with excitement. Beams after beams of sword light were shot out toward Golden Rock King with amazing speed and ferocity. "You want to play hard? So let's play hard," shouted Golden Rock King. He wielded the pair of giant axes in his hands and gave full play to his powers, his eyes filled with anger. Swoosh! 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 Axe shadows full of great vigor darted toward Jian Wushuang without a break. Soon enough, they clashed with Jian Wushuang's sword light. This fierce battle between Jian Wushuang and Golden Rock King dragged the surrounding space into an apocalypse-like state of chaos. Harsh, disagreeable combination of sounds reverberated across the battlefield. "This brat!" Golden Rock King watched Jian Wushuang malevolently, but meanwhile, he could not help feeling astonished deep inside his heart. He was astounded at the performance of this young man. He had never expected the youth to have such a great battle strength. As far as he knew, Jian Wushuang had displayed his powers during the battle in the Loyalty Palace not long ago, and at that time, his powers had been barely comparable to those of a holy master with top-notch exceptional realm. He counted the years and found out that only a few decades had passed since the battle in the Loyalty Palace. As such, he felt even puzzled about the current situation. He was a powerful universe master and well known for his battle strength. However, even he could not defeat Jian Wushuang in a short time in a stand-up fight. What surprised him even more was Jian Wushuang's self-protection ability. Why does Jian Wushuang look absolutely uninfluenced after so many head-on collisions? Every time I exerted a forward force on an axe shadow, It exerted an equal and opposite force on me. Such forces sapped my battle strength, and even slightly hurt me. How come he seems immune to such forces? Thought Golden Rock King, his gaze fixed upon Jian Wushuang. Since the beginning of this fierce battle, Jian Wushuang's sword light and Golden Rock King's axe shadows had clashed head-on for more than 100 times. Nevertheless, Jian Wushuang was still alive and kicking. He even looked more combative and energetic than before. Tianying King and Tianhuan King, who had been standing by and watching the fight all this while, remained silent, but their gaze turned harsh. Now I see why that person ordered the three of us to deal with this Jian Wushuang. He has been making fast progress all this while, Tianhuan King said in a low voice. I used to engage him in battle outside the Loyalty Palace. Back then, I severely wounded him by giving him just one whiplash, and he didn't have any energy left to struggle, not mention to counterattack after getting the blow. If Sunrise Sword Emperor hadn't come to his rescue in time, I would have killed him. However, now he's much stronger than before. Even I would feel a lack of confidence in facing off against him, said Tianying King, his hands clenched into tight fists. Fortunately, we've come here in time. He has not yet become a holy master. If he does, maybe only our monarch is able to compete with him, said Tianhuan King. Anyway, he's dead today, Tianying King said with a murderous look on his face, and then summoned his black long whip. Golden Rock King, I'm coming to help you. With these words, he dashed toward at incredibly high speed, looking like a fleeting phantom. Upon seeing Tianying King coming to join the fight, Golden Rock King frowned, but did not say anything. Another one? Jian Wushuang exclaimed, his face solemn. Shoo! Tianying King flung his whip forward. The black whip, which looked like a big python, somehow penetrated the void, and then appeared straight in front of Jian Wushuang. That's fast! Jian Wushuang exclaimed in his heart, while brandishing his Blood Mountain sword to fend it off. After he stabbed the tip of his sword into the most vulnerable place of the big python, the python quickly withdrew. He could easily spot my most vulnerable point and fend off my attack. He does have superb sword skills, said Tianying King. He did not know that it was Jian Wushuang who had created the strongest set of swordplay techniques, swordplay of coalescence. He was so versed in the art of the sword, and had mastered nearly all kinds of sword skills. That was why Tianying King could never compete with him in this aspect. Now it's my turn. Golden Rock King shouted loudly, and then suddenly squatted. Fueled by a sharp killing intent, he lifted his giant axes up above his head. A seemingly boundless axe shadow gradually came into being over his head, and covered almost the entire sky. The whole world dimmed dramatically the moment the axe shadow was formed. Now this axe shadow was the focus of everyone's attention. It quickly fell toward Jian Wushuang as Golden Rock King swung his axe toward the youth. This axe shadow, the color of Jian Wushuang's face slightly changed, as he could clearly detect the dreadful energy contained in this falling axe shadow. He had exchanged many moves with Golden Rock King by far, but the latter had never used such a technique before. In the face of such a formidable axe shadow, Jian Wushuang intuitively wanted to fend off the attack with his sword. However, before he could manage to do that, he was attacked by an invisible force. He felt as if he had been stabbed in the head by a sharp needle coated with a deadly poison. Is this a consciousness attack? And an exceptionally ferocious one? Jian Wushuang thought with a glum face. Nevertheless, he still managed to brandish his Blood Mountain sword the next moment. Boom! The explosion blasted a large pothole in the void. Jian Wushuang flew out from the center of the pothole like a bullet, and then bumped into a distant mountain, which was tall and rugged. The next moment, the mountain exploded and Jian Wushuang flew out again. He stood in the void, excitedly looking at the three universe masters. Tianhuan King, Golden Rock King and Tianying King stood side by side, looking stunned and somewhat gloomy. That axe shadow is the strongest one that I can summon. How come he survived it without a scratch? And how did he manage to take it after taking your consciousness attack? Tianhuan King. Golden Rock King voiced his doubts first. I also launched the consciousness attack with all my strength just now, Why did it have no influence on him? It even didn't delay his movements. Tianhuan King exclaimed in surprise. Back in Seven Stars Pagoda, Jian Wuxiang had managed to fend off her consciousness attack and crack the illusion she had created. Now her strongest consciousness attack failed to influence Jian Wuxiang once again. How long has he lived? Why does he have such a potent consciousness? Tianhuan King exclaimed in astonishment. This brat is not weak, and we must go all out to kill him. If we let him survive, he'll become a nightmare for the Jin Kingdom in the future. Tianyin King said in a deep voice. Chapter 1147, Going All Out. Chapter 1147, Going All Out. Let's go all out. Tianhuan King and Golden Rock King said while nodding solemnly. I'll go first, and you two will make sneak attacks against him once you get a chance. With these words, Tianyin King rushed rapidly forward like a fleeting phantom. As he moved forward, he somehow split into 10 Tianyin Kings. Jian Wuxiang immediately opened his scarlet eye and used his strength of soul to detect these 10 Tianyin Kings. The next moment, his countenance became grim, as he exclaimed in his heart, "What? They're real bodies instead of illusionary ones." His scarlet eye secret skill enabled him to tell illusionary things from real ones, but he failed to find any defect in the 10 Tianyin Kings. That meant all of them were the Universe Master's real bodies. Each of the 10 Tianyin Kings held a long black whip in hand, which looked like a big python. They surrounded Jian Wuxiang and then attacked him simultaneously. Swoosh! 10 black long whips were flung toward him at the same time. They looked like 10 big flying pythons, rushing toward him and planning to wrap themselves around him. Soon enough, they besieged Jian Wuxiang. He saw them blot out the sky and cover up the earth in an instant, leaving no gap for him to escape. What an amazing technique! Jian Wuxiang exclaimed in his heart. Tianyin King might not be able to compete with Golden Rock King in terms of battle strength, but he was clearly much faster and nimbler than the latter. He was particularly adept at trapping his opponent. Even a Universe Master could hardly escape from his grasp. However, the fact that a Universe Master was unable to get rid of those whips did not necessarily mean that Jian Wuxiang could not do that. Go Blaze Quicksand! Jian Wuxiang growled and released his Blaze Quicksand. In a split second, a violent storm of sand and green flames arose and expanded, tearing the black big pythons into pieces. After smashing the big pythons to pieces, the Blaze Quicksand rushed toward the 10 Tianyin Kings. Humph! Jian Wuxiang snorted. The next moment, one of the 10 Tianyin Kings gave a grunt and ran toward Golden Rock King and Tianhuan King in panic, as the other 9 kings suddenly dispersed. Fuck, what treasure does he have? Tianyin King blurted out while keeping a straight face and staring at the Blaze Quicksand around Jian Wuxiang. It must be a treasure which can summon some kind of realm, Golden Rock King said with a frown. Tianhuan King, I'll use my blood-deadly longbow to distract him, and you can use your killing move to finish him off once you get a chance. Got it. Tianhuan King nodded solemnly and said. Golden Rock King snorted with contempt, and then summoned a fierce-looking red longbow. It stood as tall as an adult and looked very aggressive. What's that? Jian Wuxiang's face slightly changed, as the red longbow's aura seemed quite dangerous. Jian Wuxiang, I think that longbow is a blood-deadly longbow. It's a chaos magic treasure, and its fame has spread far and wide in the eternal chaotic world. The most powerful people in that world, who recruited experts for their armies, would only equip their most elite soldiers with such longbows. It's a powerful weapon. Be careful, said Gu King. Upon hearing that, Jian Wuxiang stepped up his vigilance, his pupils constricted. In the meantime, Golden Rock King put one foot back on the void, and then shifted his weight to this back leg. He channeled nearly all his powers into his arms, but was only able to slightly pull back the string of the bow. What? Gu King could not help scoffing at the Universe Master, while thinking, is that all he can do? He only managed to slightly draw the string back. It seems that his powers aren't enough to fully activate this blood-deadly longbow. The next moment, Golden Rock King released the string. Shoo! A flowing red light instantly pierced through the void and flew toward Jian Wushuang. Even though Golden Rock King was unable to bring the longbow's powers into full play, the flowing red light it shot out still looked extremely aggressive and ferocious. More importantly, it was amazingly fast. It seemed to have approached Jian Wushuang in a split second. It was so fast that he did not even have time to consider what kind of sword technique he should use to fend it off. As such, he simply lifted up his Blood Mountain sword to block it. Clang! It sounded as if two metal things had clanged together. Jian Wushuang gave a choked cry after being pushed backward by the strong impact. Did he block it? Golden Rock King's face changed. The next moment, his killing intent skyrocketed. I'll shoot at him again. He pulled his string back once again, albeit slightly. A flowing red light was shot out again. Again? Jian Wushuang mocked inside his heart with a faint curl to his lips. The moment Golden Rock King drew the longbow, he swished his hand to summon a sandstorm for protection. The flowing light easily pierced through the void, but weakened by the gusts of wind as it flew toward Jian Wushuang. When it finally approached him, he easily fended it off by brandishing his Blood Mountain sword. What? Golden Rock King exclaimed in surprise. What else can you do? Come on. Show me, Jian Wushuang said smilingly. Whoosh! Someone suddenly appeared beside Jian Wushuang. What? Jian Wushuang shifted his gaze to the person. It was Tianhuan King, the beautiful and icy woman. She calmly stood there, with a mysterious gem in her hand. There was clearly something weird about the aura of the gem. Is it Soul Gem? Gu King suddenly said. Soul Gem? What's that? Jian Wushuang asked. Soul Gem is used to store strength of soul. It's very precious, Gu King said and then exclaimed. This battlefield is amazing. It's like a giant treasure house. In the eternal chaotic world, universe masters, except the top-notch ones, could never own such types of chaos magic treasures. However, these three universe masters from the Jin Kingdom have already taken out quite a few chaos magic treasures by far. The 7-story tower, Tianying King's long whip and that blood-deadly longbow are all precious chaos magic treasure, especially the tower and the bow, and now this soul gem. It's even more priceless. Tut-tut, what a wealthy kingdom. They would make the universe masters and experts at even higher levels in eternal chaotic world envious. It's incredible that these universe masters from the Jin Kingdom have so many treasures. As for your Greenfire Palace, you guys have dominated this battlefield for a much longer time than they did. You must have uncovered even more treasures here. No wonder the 5 palace masters didn't care much about Blaze Quicksand Gourd. Chapter 1148, That Person. Chapter 1148, That Person. After hearing Gu King's words, Jian Wushuang was speechless with amazement. Even the Jin Kingdom could manage to accumulate so many treasures. The Greenfire Palace must have uncovered a surprising amount of treasures here. As for the most precious ones, they must be in the hands of the 5 palace masters, thought Jian Wushuang. Let's drop the subject now, Gu King. Tell me the use of this soul gem, said Jian Wushuang. It stores strength of soul, and her soul gem clearly still contains some strength of soul inside itself. She can use her consciousness to channel the strength out to launch an attack on you. Jian Wushuang, this is an attack fueled by strength of soul. You have to be careful, said Gu King. So this is a soul attack. Jian Wushuang's pupils constricted, but he did not look frightened. Go die, Jian Wushuang, Tianhuan King shouted in a loud, deep voice. In the meantime, the strength of soul flowed out of her soul gem, formed a spine, and then rushed toward Jian Wushuang. What an idiot! It's really stupid to use strength of soul in this way, Gu King observed. Jian Wushuang, you don't need to do anything to fend off this soul attack, because it can never hurt you. Oh, Jian Wushuang had intended to use his own strength of soul to fend it off before, but now he gave up that plan, and let the spine hit him directly. The next moment he stood in the void, his eyes slightly closed. Is he dead? Someone asked. Tianhuan King did not reply. Instead, she fixed her gaze upon Jian Wushuang, her face extremely pale. As she herself had not yet acquired any strength of soul, she found it really painful to control such an advanced strength with her consciousness, and barely managed to launch the soul attack. After a while she said, "I've used my soul gem to launch an attack on him. This is soul attack. It's far more powerful than a regular consciousness attack. Even a universe master can't withstand it, let alone a Tao master. He must be." She was stunned before she finished her sentence. In the void in front of her, Jian Wushuang reopened his eyes and winked mockingly at her. "That's impossible. That's impossible." Tianhuan King screamed in disbelief. She did not know that Jian Wushuang, who adopted the method of inverse cultivation, was much stronger than an ordinary Tao master. More importantly, she had no idea that he had already ignited his fire of soul. Once someone ignited his or her fire of soul, he or she would be endowed with strength of soul. Under the guidance of Tianhuan King, the strength of soul stored in the soul gem could give a devastating blow to an ordinary universe master, but could hardly affect Jian Wushuang, since he had already ignited his fire of soul. After enduring the attack, he was still alive and well. However, he did not have much energy left after enduring so many attacks. He decided to escape from the clutches of the three kings. "Well, I've seen what you can do, universe masters, so please allow me to excuse myself now," Jian Wushuang said smilingly to the three kings, and then turned around, ready to take his departure. "You want to escape? No way," Golden Rock King shouted while drawing his blood-deadly longbow. In the meantime, Tianhuan King and Tianying King also rushed toward him combatively. They were both impressed and threatened by Jian Wushuang. In their eyes, he possessed even stronger deterrence than Sunrise Sword Emperor did. They believed that Jian Wushuang was going to pose serious problems for the future of the Jin Kingdom, and thus were determined to kill him here. After all, they probably would not get such a good chance to do so in the future. Jian Wushuang could not help but scoff at the three ferocious and determined kings while shaking his head. "I decided to face off against you guys just because I wanted to try out my new powers during a real battle. But now I wanted to leave. None of you are able to make me stay," said Jian Wushuang, his blaze quicksand beginning to form a violent storm again. Swoosh! The storm spread far and wide. In just a split second, the blaze quicksand covered a radius of hundreds of thousands of kilometers. "Quicksand realm!" shouted Jian Wushuang. Buzz! The invisible powers of the realm took effect. Jian Wushuang had used blaze quicksand for protection during the previous fights, but never summoned a real quicksand realm. Now when this realm took effect, the three kings suddenly felt that some form of pressure was applied to them. They felt as if they had been dragged into mud or bound by shackles. They were unable to move as fast as before or give full play to their powers. Suddenly, they saw Jian Wushuang turn himself into a flowing light and flee away. "Let's go. Let's chase after him," Golden Rock King roared. But no matter how hard he tried, he still fell further and further behind Jian Wushuang. "Damn it. My speed is suppressed by this realm. I can't move any faster," Tianhuan King cursed in a deep voice. "So is mine, but I can still manage to catch up with him," said Tianying King. Suppressed by Quicksand Realm, both Tianhuan King and Golden Rock King were left far behind by Jian Wushuang. Only Tianying King could keep up with the young man, as speed was always his forte. However, Tianying King could never stop Jian Wushuang on his own. "What can we do? What can we do now?" Tianhuan King grumbled. "There's nothing that we can do. Jian Wushuang's powers are way beyond our imagination. The three of us can never kill him. Now we can only leave him to that person," said Golden Rock King. That person? Tianhuan King and Tianying King were somewhat stunned. These three kings were not the only ones sent out by the Jin Kingdom to kill Jian Wushuang. There was another one deployed on this mission. That person was a secret weapon of the Jin Kingdom. They had planned to keep the existence of this person confidential, unless it was absolutely necessary. However, they had no other choice now. "I've sent a message to that person. As for whether he'll come to help us, it depends on himself," said Golden Rock King. In the center of the sandstorm, Jian Wushuang was rapidly rushing forward. Seeing the three kings behind himself, he could not help but scoffing at them. "How are you, Jian Wushuang?" Sunrise Sword Emperor sent him a message. At this moment, 3 of the 5 palace masters of the Green Fire Palace had gathered together in a hall of the palace. The other 2, who were currently on the battlefield, also transmitted their spectral images to the hall and attended the meeting through their powers of consciousness. All of them were nervous upon hearing that Jian Wushuang was ambushed by 3 kings of the Jin Kingdom. Beyond their expectations, Jian Wushuang replied, "Hello, palace masters. I've just engaged the 3 kings in battle. They've used every trick they know but still failed to kill me. They're still chasing after me right now, but I can shake them off with my blaze quicksand gourd." Chapter 1149, A Red-Haired Youth. Chapter 1149, A Red-Haired Youth. The 5 palace masters were shocked when hearing Jian Wushuang describe the fight between the 3 kings and himself in a relaxed tone. "Are you saying that you've just engaged the 3 kings in battle?" Void Temple Master asked Jian Wushuang in disbelief. "Yes," Jian Wushuang nodded and replied. "And the 3 kings failed to kill you even when they worked together?" asked Void Temple Master. "Yes," Jian Wushuang nodded and replied again. "How is this possible?" All the 5 palace masters were astonished. All the 9 kings of the Jin Kingdom were powerful universe masters with formidable battle strength. Generally speaking, it was just a piece of cake for any one of them to kill a holy master with exceptional realm. When 3 kings worked together, only the most experienced palace masters of the Green Fire Palace, such as Samsara Temple Master and Void Temple Master, could manage to resist them. However, these 3 kings failed to kill Jian Wushuang. The 5 palace masters felt bewildered. "I've reached the levels of a Dao master," Jian Wushuang explained. "Even a Dao master can't be this powerful," Void Temple Master said with a frown. A moment later, he added, "Jian Wushuang, can you tell me how they look and what they're good at? I want to know who they are." "One of them is Tianying King. I've fought against him before. As for the other 2, one is a woman versed in the use of consciousness attack, and the other is a man who uses large axes," Jian Wushuang said, and then described the 2 kings' looks to the palace masters. After hearing his description, the 5 palace masters quickly agreed on who the 2 kings were. The woman is Tianhuan King, and the man is Golden Rock King. They and Tianying King worked together to ambush you. Void Temple Master continued with a solemn face. Among the 3 kings, Golden Rock King is the most powerful one, Tianhuan King is the most crafty one, and Tianying King is the weakest in terms of physical strength. However, this Tianying King is a tough fighter, and he moves exceptionally fast. When working together, they can easily finish off an ordinary universe master. Upon hearing Void Temple Master's analysis, all the other 4 palace masters nodded in agreement. At the same time, they were impressed by Jian Wushuang's performance. Golden Rock King was good at attacking, Tianying King was adept at trapping his enemy, and Tianhuan King was expert in consciousness attacks. They did have the abilities to kill a universe master. Nevertheless, Jian Wushuang had forced them to go all out and managed to survive and escape their clutches. "It looks like that we've underestimated Jian Wushuang. Now that he's able to take on 3 kings from the Jin Kingdom at the same time, he must have powers similar to those of a universe master. He's just become a Dao master, but is able to compete with us now. When he reaches the levels of a holy master," said Void Temple Master. Excitement flickered in his eyes. "Jian Wushuang, the Jin Kingdom must have noticed your potentials, that's why it wants you dead now. It just has underestimated your powers this time. It'll send some other experts to attack you again. Given this, you must return to Green Fire Palace after shaking off the 3 kings," Samsara Temple Master said solemnly. "Yes, Palace Master," Jian Wushuang nodded and replied. He was clear how much the Jin Kingdom wanted to kill him. After all, it had sent such a formidable team consisted of 3 kings to ambush him. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. "What?" Jian Wushuang looked forward, his face changed. He maintained his quicksand realm, all this, while and kept searching his surroundings with his strength of soul, while moving forward. At this moment, he sensed that a person was standing in front of him. It was a red-haired youth. He stood there with a spear in hand, looking calm and cool. His aura seemed ordinary, but Jian Wushuang somehow felt overwhelmingly intimidated by him. Is he also a universe master from the Jin Kingdom? Jian Wushuang wondered nervously. Being ambushed by 3 kings from the Jin Kingdom felt unreal enough. And now another universe master from the Jin Kingdom popped out. He seems to have hidden in the shadows all this while. Compared to the other 3 universe masters, he looks even more powerful. Jian Wushuang, I can tell that this universe master before you is not an ordinary one. He's much more powerful than the 3 kings behind you. You have to be very careful, said Gu King. Upon hearing that, Jian Wushuang looked grave. At this moment, the red-haired youth in front of him was staring stonily at him, while standing quietly in the void with a spear in his hand. This is really ridiculous. 3 universe masters failed to kill a Dao master. What a bunch of bums. Now let me clean up this mess, said the youth grumpily. He was also on the mission to kill Jian Wushuang. However, he just came to help the 3 kings in case some palace master of the Green Fire Palace suddenly came to Jian Wushuang's rescue. According to his original plan, if there was not such a palace master, he would never join the fight or even reveal himself. Beyond his expectations, it was not some top-notch expert from the Green Fire Palace, but the powers of Jian Wushuang that forced him to come out. He had to join the fight to complete his mission when the 3 kings tried their best, but still failed to kill Jian Wushuang. I'm going to expose myself by engaging Jian Wushuang in battle. By doing so, I won't be able to remain as a hidden trump card until the decisive battle against the Green Fire Palace begins. This can be bad for the Jin Kingdom, but I have to kill this incredibly talented youth now. Otherwise, he'll pose a serious threat to us in the future. I cannot give this brat any chance to survive and grow stronger. I must kill him now even if this will expose myself, thought the red-haired youth. He tightly gripped the long red spear in his hand, and then turned himself into a flowing red light, dashing toward Jian Wushuang. Watch out, Jian Wushuang, Gu King groaned. Jian Wushuang was fully alerted, and fixed his gaze upon the flowing red light. When the light reached the edge of his blaze quicksand storm, he shouted, Quicksand realm, drive him away. Jian Wushuang rendered full support to his quicksand realm, and urged it to press down on the red-haired youth. Blaze quicksand roared and pressed on the red-haired youth. Violent storms quickly formed in front of him, blocking his way. However, the quicksand realm only managed to block him for a second. The next moment he thrust his long spear forward while shouting, Cleave through the storm. Suddenly, it began to snow in the void which surrounded them, and the snowflakes looked as red as blood. The icy spearhead dashed forward with remarkable speed and ferocity. Swoosh! It cut through the sandstorms. The next moment, he thrust his spear further into the storms to attack Jian Wushuang. Upon seeing the spear rapidly approaching, Jian Wushuang could only use his swordplay of coalescence to counterattack. He gave full play to the power of first move of the Heaven's Bane. Chapter 1150 Red Snow King. Chapter 1150 Red Snow King. Bang! 2 formidable forces clashed, and the force of the red-haired youth quickly gained the upper hand. Jian Wushuang's Blood Mountain sword was forced slightly aside, and the long red spear continued to rush toward the chest of Jian Wushuang. Clang! It sounded like a clunk of metal smashing into metal when the spear hit Jian Wushuang's scarlet robe, which was actually his blood-killing plate armor. The robe absorbed 90% of the spear's energy, but the remaining energy still spread into his body, causing considerable damage to him. He felt as if his insides had been set on fire, and spouted out a mouthful of blood. How come he's so powerful? He cast a vigilant look at the red-haired youth. Before the spear hit him, its powers had been eroded by the quicksand realm and the sandstorms, and then been counteracted by his first move of the Heaven's Bane. However, it still severely wounded him. Its power grew less and less as it approached him, but the level of its remaining powers still went beyond that of an all-out attack from an ordinary universe master. He must be a top-notch universe master. Run, Jian Wushuang! Run! Gu King urged. Jian Wushuang was well aware that he was unable to compete with this red-haired youth. Therefore, the moment he managed to stand on his feet, he immediately activated his strength of soul and used his dragon blood secret skill to flee. Upon seeing that Jian Wushuang was still alive after withstanding the blow, the red-haired youth was quite surprised. When the young man started to flee, he snorted coldly and chased after him. While escaping, Jian Wushuang managed to contact the 5 palace masters. Palace masters, I've just encountered another universe master from the Jin Kingdom. He's way more powerful than the 3 kings. I'm confident that I can shake off the kings, but I'm not sure if I can escape from him, said Jian Wushuang hastily. Another universe master? Are you saying that you're ambushed by 4 kings? All the palace masters of the Green Fire Palace were startled. Jian Wushuang, you're able to easily escape from Tianhuan King, Golden Rock King and Tianying King. Who else among the 9 kings of the Jin Kingdom is able to stop you? Void Temple Master asked with a frown. Yeah, who else? The 9 kings of the Jin Kingdom are of almost equal strength. None of them is exceptionally powerful. Tang Emperor echoed. Tell us more about this universe master. How does he look? What can he do? Asked Sunrise Sword Emperor. He's a red-haired youth, and his weapon is a long red spear. He's much more powerful than Golden Rock King, at least a dozen times stronger. He has severely wounded me with just one stab. Oh, when he wields his spear, there are red snowflakes falling down. A red-haired universe master, who's a dozen times stronger than Golden Rock King. He uses a long spear, and when he wields it, there are red snowflakes? The 5 palace masters mused in silence. The next moment, Samsara Temple Master and Void Temple Master looked frantic simultaneously, and their pupils suddenly constricted. It's Red Snow King. It's him. Void Temple Master exclaimed in astonishment. What? Red Snow King? Tang Emperor, Sunrise Sword Emperor and Red Lotus turned pale with fright and asked in disbelief. How is it possible? Red Snow King was killed during the battle between the Jin Kingdom and us 5 million years ago. How come he's still alive? Void Temple Master spoke with a trembling voice. I can't believe that he's still alive, Samsara Temple Master exclaimed in a hard, cold voice. 5 million years ago, when experts of the Jin Kingdom had first come to this battlefield, they had more than 9 kings. Instead, there were 14 kings among them. This Red Snow King was the strongest one among the kings. Despite the fact that he was also a universe master, he was way more powerful than the other 13 kings. He was definitely a top-notch universe master. 5 million years ago, the Green Fire Palace had fought a last-ditch battle against experts from the Jin Kingdom and sacrificed a lot to kill Red Snow King on the battleground. However, no one else than Red Snow King could severely wound Jian Wushuang with just one stab, so this universe master with a long spear in hand must have been Red Snow King. Red Snow King is far stronger than an ordinary universe master. Among all experts in the Green Fire Palace, only Samsara Temple Master is able to resist him with the help of some treasures. The other palace masters can only escape when encountering him. Red Snow King is well known for his amazing speed and formidable offensive power. He's also on this mission to kill Jian Wushuang. This boy is really in danger, said Tang Emperor. Samsara, you're out on the battlefield right now. How long will it take for you to reach Jian Wushuang, if you travel as fast as you can? Asked Void Temple Master. Yes, I'm on the battlefield but quite distant from his location. I guess I need at least several days to reach him, sighed Samsara Temple Master. Several days. The other 4 palace masters exclaimed simultaneously. The situation looked grim for them. Red Snow King was after Jian Wushuang at this moment. It would be lucky for the boy to resist him for a few hours, not to mention several days. Upon hearing the reply of Samsara Temple Master, Jian Wushuang who was busy running away from Red Snow King, knew that he could only rely on himself now. "Several days?" he murmured to himself with a frown, and then turned his head to look back. The next moment, his pupils constricted. Not far behind him, Red Snow King spread a pair of golden wings, which enabled him to move even faster than before. Suppressed by Jian Wushuang's quicksand realm, he still moved a little bit faster than the boy. Upon seeing that, Jian Wushuang made up his mind. "Palace masters, you don't need to worry about me anymore. I'll try my best to make the Jin kingdom suffer." With these words, he halted the communication. The 5 palace masters of the Green Fire Palace were rendered speechless after hearing his words. They knew clearly what Jian Wushuang was going to do. As he could not escape from the grip of Red Snow King, he intended to face off against this mighty universe master and try his best to cause losses to the Jin kingdom, even at the cost of his own life. Alas, Tang Emperor sighed, feeling helpless. In the meantime, Jian Wushuang looked unprecedentedly determined on the battlefield. Chapter 1151, Determination. Chapter 1151, Determination. I've never expected that I would get ambushed by experts from the Jin Kingdom right after I became a Dao Master. It looks like this original body of mine is doomed, Jian Wushuang said gravely, but still had a smile on his face. "Gu King, get prepared. I'll create a chance for you to escape with all my treasures." "Have you already made up your mind, Jian Wushuang?" asked Gu King solemnly. "Yeah," Jian Wushuang nodded and said, "This original body of mine is definitely going to perish. This Red Snow King is exceptionally strong and fast. I can't shake him off with the help of my quicksand realm, and even my dragon blood secret skill. And it's impossible for experts of the Green Fire Palace to come to my rescue in time. I have 2 original bodies. When this one is gone, I'll come back to life through the other one. It's not a big deal. However, I really need you to keep all my treasures for me." "I see," said Gu King said. "You can hand over blood-killing plate armor and blood mountain sword to me. What about Blaze Quicksand Gourd?" Jian Wushuang carried 3 treasures with this original body, which included blood-killing plate armor, blood mountain sword and Blaze Quicksand Gourd. As for the more precious treasures, such as Mountain River Map, they had been left with the other original body of Jian Wushuang. "I need this Blaze Quicksand Gourd during the fight, so I can't give it to you. Maybe I'll lose it in the end, but I can accept this result." Jian Wushuang paused for a moment and continued, "Beside the 2 treasures you've mentioned, I'll give you 2 drops of ancient god power, some elixir which can restore your spiritual power, and some other treasures except Blaze Quicksand Gourd. You have to take all of them away. If you can't destroy them, I can't let my enemies have them. Of course, the most important thing is that you have to keep yourself safe," Jian Wushuang emphasized. Gu King had been parasitic in him for so many years. He had begun to treat him like family a long time ago. He was willing to give up all his treasures, even his blood-killing plate armor and blood mountain sword, to ensure that Gu King could survive. "Don't worry, I'm a seasoned warrior. I accompanied King Luozhen everywhere when he was exploring the eternal chaotic world. Although I'm not so powerful as before, which is because I've recognized you as my owner, a universe master can never kill me," Gu King said confidently. "That's good." Jian Wushuang smiled slightly. He continued to escape, and when he spotted a high mountain in front of him, excitement flickered within his eyes. "Here, it's near the Chiliwind Valley." With these words, he clenched his fists to stop himself, and suddenly turned around. Buzz! He absorbed a drop of ancient god power. The next moment his aura got much stronger. "Go die!" he shouted loudly, and rushed toward Red Snow King. "You just can't wait to die." Red Snow King sneered, and thrust his long spear toward Jian Wushuang. As the spear was pushed forward violently, red snowflakes drifted down, making the fighting scenes beautiful and eye-catching. Jian Wushuang propelled his sword forward, making a slight whistling sound. In an instant, his soul attack reached Red Snow King with strong destructive powers and killing intent from the killing bead. "What? This consciousness attack seems to be as fierce as the one launched by Tianhuan King," Red Snow King thought grim-faced. However, Jian Wushuang's soul attack failed to exert much influence on Red Snow King. The latter's long spear was as powerful as before and quickly clashed against Blood Mountain sword. Clang! After the loud clunk, Red Snow King twisted his wrist to rotate his spear, creating a vortex in the void, and then hurled it at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang did not have enough time to dodge. All he could do at that time was lifting up his Blood Mountain sword to block the spear. Bang! The next moment he was knocked away. He flew backward, until he bumped into the high mountain behind him. He smashed into the mountain, and was buried by the gravel. Here you are. Keep them for me, Gu King. Jian Wushuang said as he tossed out an interspatial ring, which contained blood-killing plate armor, Blood Mountain sword and many other treasures he had collected before. In the meantime, a flowing red light shone across the place where Jian Wushuang landed. It was Plenilun Centipede Gu King. It had not appeared too bulky this time. It caught the interspatial ring with his mouth, swallowed it down, and tunneled into the mountain, and then the ground, hurriedly fleeing away from this place. Boom! Jian Wushuang flew out of the mountain, and then toward the chilly wind valley. What? Red Snow King was a little surprised. He had been fixed his gaze upon Jian Wushuang all this while and naturally noticed Gu King. Worm beast, Red Snow King wondered. No matter what it is, I'll kill it. Red Snow King had a strong killing intent. He used his consciousness to lock on Gu King, and then swished his hand to launch a fierce attack on it. After that, he continued to chase after Jian Wushuang. Boom! Red Snow King's offensive power penetrated the ground and reached Gu King, but it only affected its speed instead of killing it. In the end, it still managed to sneak into the deepest part of the earth and disappeared. Swoosh! Swoosh! Red Snow King was closely after Jian Wushuang, and behind them were Tianhuan King, Golden Rock King, and Tianying King. However, these three kings were quite far away from them now. Without Gu King's help, Jian Wushuang was unable to restore his powers as easily as before. To make matters worse, the Dragon Blood secret skill he used to escape kept draining away his spiritual power. As such, he could not sustain himself like this for a very long time. Given this, he decided to go to the place he always wanted to visit. Soon enough, Jian Wushuang and Red Snow King saw a vast sinkhole. The Chiliwind Valley. Jian Wushuang rushed toward the center of the sinkhole. Excitement flickered in his eyes. When he arrived at the center of the sinkhole, he stopped. Buzz! The blaze quicksand around him dispersed. He stood there, pale and gasping feebly, but he did not look frightened. Swoosh! The red-haired Red Snow King arrived and stopped in front of Jian Wushuang. As for Tianhuan King, Golden Rock King, and Tianying King, they were still far away from this sinkhole. Jian Wushuang, why don't you continue to escape? Red Snow King said while looking coldly at Jian Wushuang. I'm running out of spiritual power, and I'm chased by Red Snow King, the strongest king of the Jin Kingdom. I can't escape from you even though I wish I could do that, replied Jian Wushuang smilingly. Chapter 1152. Inside the Chiliwind Valley Part 1. Chapter 1152. Inside the Chiliwind Valley Part 1. Red Snow King did not feel very surprised when he heard Jian Wushuang call him by his real name. He knew that he would be exposed once he showed his powers. Jian Wushuang, I really admire your ability. You're only a Dao master, but you managed to escape from the three kings of the Jin Kingdom, and even I must spend much energy to catch you. It's amazing, Red Snow King said smilingly. You are a genius, a real genius. Although we all live in the eternal chaotic world, there are few geniuses like you. Unfortunately, if an extraordinary genius dies, he'll be a loser. Today you must die. You're right. I admit that I'm doomed to die today, but I'll never die at the hands of an expert from the Jin Kingdom. I won't give your country an extra advantage. Jian Wushuang said coldly. What? Red Snow King said with surprise. Have you seen the huge sinkhole at your feet? Jian Wushuang asked suddenly. Red Snow King glanced at the deep and mysterious sinkhole, but he didn't see anything. I discovered the sinkhole long ago, and I named it Chilly Wind Valley. Jian Wushuang laughed. It is huge and deep beyond my imagination, but I don't know whether there is a big opportunity or a natural impasse in it. I've always been curious about what lies at the bottom of the hole, but I never had the courage to find out before. Now that I'm doomed to die, I've decided to go down there to see whether it's an opportunity or an impasse at the bottom of Chilly Wind Valley. Do you want to make a bet with me? Jian Wushuang asked. He looked very relaxed. Red Snow King became a little anxious. Haha, if you are not afraid to die, you should follow me. Otherwise, you have to let me go. Jian Wushuang grinned broadly at Red Snow King. Boom! A strong aura suddenly burst out from the body of Jian Wushuang again. The small amount of spiritual power that was left in his body began to revive. He flew directly to the bottom of the mysterious sinkhole like a falling stone. As he left, he swallowed several of the remaining elixir pills that could make him regain spiritual power and a drop of ancient god power. Obviously, he was at the point of no return. Upon seeing that, Red Snow King frowned and began to think about it. He looked at the bottomless and mysterious sinkhole, and then he felt a natural fear. There must be something that could threaten him at the bottom of the sinkhole. However, Jian Wushuang was already frantically falling to the bottom of the sinkhole. If he didn't follow, he wouldn't know whether Jian Wushuang was dead or alive. Do I go or not? After a moment's thought, he decided to enter the sinkhole. He's just a Dao master, but he dares to go into that sinkhole. I have no reason to fear him. Besides, it was difficult for me to put him in this situation. If I don't continue to hunt him down, he'll probably survive due to some opportunity. If that happens, it'll be a nightmare for the Jin Kingdom. Red Snow King thought to himself. I can't disregard my previous efforts, so I must kill him now. His eyes gradually became scarlet, and then he spread his red and gold wings behind him. In an instant, he turned into a red and gold flowing light rushing to the bottom of the sinkhole. Seeing Jian Wushuang and Red Snow King fly into the sinkhole, Heaven Illusion King, Golden Rock King, and Heaven Shadow King who were standing in the void above the sinkhole all frowned. What should we do? Should we follow them? Heaven Shadow King asked. There aren't any records about the Chilly Wind Valley in the Jin Kingdom, so we don't know what lies at the bottom of the sinkhole. However, as they've already entered the sinkhole, we shouldn't just stay here and wait, said Golden Rock King. Considering Red Snow King's battle strength, it should be a piece of cake for him to kill Jian Wushuang, but I'm afraid there might be something at the bottom of the hole that will help Jian Wushuang escape. Furthermore, if Red Snow King dies there, it'll be a huge loss to the Jin Kingdom. Therefore, we'd better follow him and help, said Heaven Illusion King. We should leave now. There are indeed a lot of natural dangerous lands on the battlefield, but few can threaten us. I think we won't meet them, but we should be careful. If we notice that something is wrong, we will quickly escape, Heaven Shadow King said. Okay. Golden Rock King and Heaven Illusion King nodded in agreement. They immediately moved and flew to the bottom of the Chilly Wind Valley. In Chilly Wind Valley, whoosh! Jian Wushuang was using the Dragon Blood secret skill, and he unleashed his strength of soul to its maximum. When he saw the 4 kings of the Jin Kingdom follow him and enter the valley one after another, he laughed coldly. He had said that he knew nothing about the Chilly Wind Valley, which was a lie. In fact, it was quite clear to him that there was something dreadful inside the Chilly Wind Valley. Since he chose to burst into the valley, he was ready to give up this original body. However, he would try his best to make the Jin Kingdom pay the price before that. The greater the cost, the better. That's great. For kings of the Jin Kingdom, Red Snow King is the strongest among them. 5 million years ago, the people of the Green Fire Palace spent much time and energy to defeat him. They thought they had killed him at that time, but he was still alive. And the Chilly Wind Valley. Before long, the blood-cold wind inside this hole will start to blow. Let me see whether it is powerful enough to finish him off. Jian Wushuang thought to himself. He had once witnessed the power of the blood-cold wind personally, and believed that it was a terrible weapon. He wasn't sure, however, whether he could kill Red Snow King with this weapon. As for the 3 other kings from the Jin Kingdom, Jian Wushuang laughed coldly. Their strengths and skills are far weaker than those of Red Snow King. If they're attacked by the terrible blood-cold wind, they'll die. I have to make sure that they don't have a chance to escape from this blood-cold wind. Suddenly, boom! A roar came from the bottom of the huge hole. Meanwhile, the whole world began to tremble fiercely, becoming stronger and stronger. Chapter 1153, Chiliwind Valley Part 2. Chapter 1153, Chiliwind Valley Part 2. What? Jian Wushuang's expression shifted ever so slightly. The huge change in the Chiliwind Valley was well within his expectations, but he did not think that it would come this early. There would be a burst of blood-cold wind every hour, each burst lasting only 10 breaths. His plan was to lure Red Snow King and the other 3 to the bottom of the valley, so that the blood-cold wind would kill them. However, aside from Red Snow King, who was the first to enter the valley, it was likely that Heaven Illusion King, Golden Rock King, and Heaven Shadow King would escape as soon as they detected the change in the valley. They might just run out of the attack range of the blood-cold wind. Looks like luck isn't on my side. Jian Wushuang shook his head and sighed. He had no choice but to take action now that the blood-cold wind was about to erupt again. The 4 kings of the Jin Kingdom, who was flying overhead, stopped in their tracks when they noticed the huge change in the valley. This is... Red Snow King fixed his eyes on the space beneath his feet, but saw nothing except pitch-black darkness. He could not help feeling frightened, as he felt the world tremble around him, and hear the series of explosions coming from the bottom of the valley. It was an instinctual kind of fear. He had never felt this alarmed in his entire life. Run! Run now! Red Snow King bellowed. He immediately turned around to rush out of the valley. Heaven Illusion King, Golden Rock King, and Heaven Shadow King became anxious and followed suit without hesitation. Haha, you're only trying to run now? Will you succeed? Stay here, all of you. Die with me. Manic laughter reverberated throughout the valley. Jian Wushuang, who stood nearest to the bottom of the valley, held a golden gourd tightly in his hand. Under his guidance, the mighty blaze quicksand gushed out of the gourd and charged toward the 4 kings like a raging tsunami. The sand had already gushed out of the gourd when the 4 kings tried to run. Carrying with it a green flame, the quicksand swiftly covered all the 4 kings hovering above Jian Wushuang. With the quicksand realm fully activated, their speed was restricted as they tried to escape. Moreover, the rapidly expanding sandstorm was also rushing toward them. Humph! Scram at once! Red Snow King shouted in anger. Blood-like flames bathed his body, burning the sand that neared him to ashes. He still moved swiftly, as he was only partially affected by the quicksand realm. Heaven Shadow King had been the fastest among the other 3 kings, and was also the first to escape. Thus, the impact he suffered was also the greatest. Under Jian Wushuang's guidance, a large amount of blaze quicksand converged to form a massive hand. The sand firmly caught hold of Heaven Shadow King. No matter how much Heaven Shadow King struggled, each time he escaped from the shackles of the sand, a new layer of sand would cover him. Help me! Hurry up and help me! He cried mournfully, his voice thundering. However, he soon realized that the other 3 were preoccupied with running for their lives. They could not even protect themselves, much less worry about rescuing him. Boom! Over in the bottom of the valley, the blood-cold wind that had been quietly accumulating finally erupted. The terrifying wind ripped through everything as it soared from the bottom of the valley, like a volcanic eruption. It moved so swiftly that it swept Jian Wushuang, Red Snow King, and Heaven Shadow King, who were still in the sinkhole. On the other hand, Heaven Illusion King and Golden Rock King were lucky enough to run out of the range of the blood-cold wind. If Jian Wushuang was equipped with the blood-killing plate armor, he would likely be able to momentarily endure the wind even without his defensive capability. However, the wind was crushing his unarmored body. Just as he was about to lose consciousness, he saw what happened to Red Snow King and Heaven Shadow King. Red Snow King had taken out a token, and was desperately struggling against the blood-cold wind. Meanwhile, Heaven Shadow King suffered the same fate as Jian Wushuang, and was instantly crushed. Somewhere nearby the chilly Wind Valley, Heaven Illusion King and Golden Rock King, who were lucky enough to run out of the valley, watched in horror. The endless gale, carrying a fearsome power, had destroyed everything in its path. The two universe masters felt fear from the bottom of their hearts. They knew they would have died if they had entered deep into the chilly Wind Valley earlier. What a terrifying gale! Heaven Illusion King exclaimed. The wind swept both Red Snow King and Heaven Shadow King. So they should, Golden Rock King muttered. Whoosh! Out of the blue, a golden flowing light burst out of the gale, and appeared in front of them. It was Red Snow King. He was pale and bloodied all over. Half of his red and golden wings were broken. Our Red Snow King, Heaven Illusion King and Golden Rock King stared at him. They could see what a miserable state that Red Snow King was in. Red Snow King clenched his teeth and said in a low voice, I used a life-saving secret skill and suffered a great loss. I need to go into seclusion at once. Jian Wushuang, Heaven Illusion King did not finish his sentence. Both he and Heaven Shadow King are dead. Their treasures must have fallen to the bottom of the valley. If you two have guts, feel free to go and pick them up, Red Snow King said coldly. Heaven Illusion King and Golden Rock King began to tremble as they glanced at the chilly Wind Valley in horror. They dared not enter the valley again after experiencing the terrifying gale earlier. Let's go. Let's go back right now. The three of them immediately left. Right then, the second original body of Jian Wushuang, who had been meditating his sword principle inside a secret chamber in Green Fire Palace, opened his eyes. He clenched his hands tightly. Though I've lost my first original body in Blaze Quicksand Gourd, I managed to kill a universe master from the Jin Kingdom. Moreover, even if Red Snow King is still alive, he still sustained grave injuries. It's worth it. Chapter 1154. The Shock of the Palace Masters. Chapter 1154. The Shock of the Palace Masters. The 5 Palace Masters gathered together in the Green Fire Palace, including 3 original bodies and 2 consciousness. They looked very unhappy. The Jin Kingdom, the Sunrise Sword Emperor said with cold eyes. He clenched his hands tightly and his teeth were chattering. Jian Wushuang has reached the level of a Dao Master, and has the same strength as us, so he is likely to be the leader of the Green Fire Palace in the future. But now, the Samsara Temple Master sighed slightly. Although I didn't believe in his strength before, I hoped that he would exceed my expectation, and then become the leader of the Green Fire Palace. I didn't think that he would be assassinated in the Jin Kingdom, Red Lotus said coldly. Although the 5 Palace Masters had very high hopes for Jian Wushuang, their main concern was about the Green Fire Palace. They had hoped that there would be a leader in the Green Fire Palace. Therefore, whenever a genius or an expert died, they would grieve. Hearing that Jian Wushuang had died, they were deeply grieved. At this moment, Tang Emperor's expression changed, and then he turned to look at the other palace masters. Please follow me. They felt very confused, but they still followed him. Tang Emperor led them to a secret chamber in the Green Fire Palace. There was no light inside the secret chamber. When the 5 palace masters arrived, a figure appeared out of nowhere. 5 palace masters. Jian Wushuang, who was dressed in a black robe, gave a salute to the 5 palace masters politely. Everyone aside from Tang Emperor was very surprised. Jian Wushuang, you are not dead. Red Lotus screamed at first. Is it your original form rather than your consciousness? Samsara Temple Master stared at Jian Wushuang, and then he realized that Jian Wushuang was indeed an original body rather than a short consciousness like him. Did your doppelganger fight with them in the battlefield? That's not right. Why would your doppelganger have such strength? Samsara Temple Master, Void Temple Master, and the other people all felt surprised. It was indeed my original body that appeared in the battlefield, and it has died. However, I have long had 2 original bodies. Jian Wushuang said with a smile. 2 original bodies? All of the palace masters were very stunned. They knew that one could have an original body and a doppelganger, but they never imagined he would have 2 original bodies. Because of inverse cultivation, Void Temple Master stared at Jian Wushuang, as if his eyes contained electricity. In fact, they already knew that Jian Wushuang was an inverse cultivator. Yes, Jian Wushuang laughed and nodded. An inverse cultivator has 2 original bodies. If he loses one original body, the other one will find a way to recover it. The 4 palace masters looked at each other and felt very incredulous. They had heard of inverse cultivation, but they only knew a little about it. Among the 5 palace masters, Tang Emperor knew it best. Tang Emperor, did you know Jian Wushuang has 2 original bodies? Red Lotus looked at him. I knew. Tang Emperor nodded slightly and then laughed. My disciple Little Qing is also an inverse cultivator and has 2 original bodies, but nobody knows except me. Well, you knew that Jian Wushuang wouldn't die, but you didn't tell us, so we were worried and grieved for him. Red Lotus snorted, but in his heart he felt relaxed. Samsara Temple Master, Void Temple Master and Sunrise Sword Emperor all laughed. They thought that Jian Wushuang, a peerless genius, had died, but they didn't think that he just lost an original body. Inverse cultivation is really terrible. Samsara Temple Master gasped in admiration, and then turned to look at Jian Wushuang. He asked, you said that your original body on the battlefield had died. What about Red Snow King and the other people? Are they dead? I already knew that the original body would die, so I used myself as bait and set a trap for the 4 kings of the Jin Kingdom. Jian Wushuang answered, there is a perilous place in those mountains that I call Chiliwen Valley. In the Chiliwen Valley, a mass blood cold wind always bursts out every hour. I experienced its power personally last time. Moreover, I'm the only one who knew of the danger in the Chiliwen Valley and the rules on the outbreak of blood cold wind. The 4 kings of the Jin Kingdom didn't know that, so I burst into the valley with a mortal heart, and the 4 kings all followed me. After a while the blood cold wind burst out. My original body was smashed in an instant. Heaven Shadow King also died. Red Snow King is very strong, so I don't know if he died. If he is still alive, he must have suffered heavy injuries. Jian Wushuang spoke in a low but powerful voice. Hearing this, the 5 palace masters were all shocked. Jian Wushuang should use that original body as bait, and then set a trap for those 4 kings. And then, is Heaven Shadow King dead? Is Red Snow King dead or alive? The 5 palace masters looked at each other with shock in their eyes. The kings from the Jin Kingdom were real universe master experts. Every universe master expert was very strong. A universe master was a respectable person in the universe, and was supreme in the eternal world. It was very difficult to kill such a top expert, wasn't it? The Green Fire Palace had been fighting with the Jin Kingdom for 5 million years. In the former Mad War, they had fiercely fought against each other. Only several universe masters were killed. Almost no universe master had died ever since. Yet Jian Wushuang had actually directly killed 1 universe master. More surprisingly, no one knew whether Red Snow King, who was the strongest, was dead or alive. The 5 palace masters began to look at Jian Wushuang with different attitudes. They felt very surprised when they found out that Jian Wushuang could escape from Heaven Illusion King, Golden Rock King, and Heaven Shadow King at leisure before. But they didn't think that he was really on par with them. He was likely to have the strong skill to protect himself. Now, however, Jian Wushuang had actually killed a universe master. Although he had taken advantage of the danger of the Chiliwen Valley to succeed, the 5 palace masters admitted his position in their hearts. In fact, they didn't know that the 4 kings were lucky. The blood cold wind had burst out soon after they entered the Chiliwen Valley. If the blood cold wind had burst out a little later, when they had completely entered the valley, and had no time to escape, all of the 4 kings would have probably been killed. Chapter 1155, The Odd Thing. Chapter 1155, The Odd Thing. The 4 kings of the Jin Kingdom, including Red Snow King, entered the Chilly Wind Valley personally, but they didn't kill you and lost Heaven Shadow King instead. What's worse, Red Snow King is probably dead. The Jin Kingdom has paid a double penalty this time. Void Temple Master laughed. Had they sustained too many losses? The Jin Kingdom had indeed suffered great losses this time. They had paid a great price but failed to kill Jian Wushuang, who was a potential threat to them. It was so terrible. Jian Wushuang was still alive. He only lost his first original body and some treasures, which had a marginal effect on him. The Jin Kingdom has paid such a great price but didn't kill Jian Wushuang. If they find out about it, they will become wild with anger. Samsara Temple Master snorted. Jian Wushuang is dead. Tang Emperor said suddenly. What? The 4 other palace masters and Jian Wushuang immediately turned to look at Tang Emperor. The reason why the people of the Jin Kingdom are eager to kill Jian Wushuang is that they are afraid that he has the potential to be the leader of our Green Fire Palace and reach a higher level in the future. Now that Jian Wushuang's first original body has died, they must think that Jian Wushuang has really died, which is a good thing for us. Tang Emperor explained. Do you mean that we will hide Jian Wushuang? Sunrise Sword Emperor raised his eyebrows and asked. Yes, we will hide him. To be precise, we need to keep the secret that Jian Wushuang is still alive. Otherwise, they will find other ways to assassinate him and secretly observe Jian Wushuang in the future. If necessary, they will even fight a decisive battle with us preemptively until both sides are dead. Tang Emperor said seriously. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang and the 4 palace masters wore grave expressions. In terms of their battle formation, the Jin Kingdom was very eager to kill Jian Wushuang. If they knew that Jian Wushuang was still alive, they were sure to find another way to assassinate him. The Jin Kingdom thinks that Jian Wushuang is dead now, so we should ask Jian Wushuang to hide while he becomes stronger, so that he can be a powerful weapon of the Green Fire Palace in the future. At the crucial moment, he is likely to play an incredible role. Tang Emperor continued. You're right. I agree with you. The trump card is always hidden in a secret place. Jian Wushuang is qualified to be our trump card. After some hesitation, the 4 other palace masters nodded, showing that they all agreed with Tang Emperor. What do you think? Tang Emperor looked at Jian Wushuang. As long as it is for the benefit of the Green Fire Palace, I agree. Jian Wushuang laughed. Well, you shouldn't show up on the battlefield later, and shouldn't make contact with the celestial masters of the Green Fire Palace. We palace masters will announce your death, and only the 5 of us will know that you are still alive. Tang Emperor continued. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. Jian Wushuang didn't care about whether he could still make contact with the celestial masters. On the other hand, it was a pity that he couldn't appear on the battlefield, but he could also accept it. Since I am not allowed to go to the battlefield, I will return to the Green Fire world, because I have something private to deal with in that place. Jian Wushuang said. You can go to the Green Fire world, but remember to keep a low profile. If you need to fight with others, you should hide your identity. If you get into trouble and can't act personally, you should send a message to Samsara Temple Master and Void Temple Master, and then they will help you solve your problem in the Void Continent or Samsara Continent. Tang Emperor said. I understand. Jian Wushuang laughed. He knew that some spies from the Jin Kingdom were hiding in the Green Fire world, so he was supposed to keep a low profile. Otherwise, he would probably betray himself. Tang Emperor paused for a moment and then spoke again. There is another thing. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang and the 4 other palace masters all stared at him. I feel something strange about the assassination attempt of the Jin Kingdom. Tang Emperor said seriously. Something strange? Jian Wushuang was a little confused. You said that you fell into the trap of the 3 kings of Jin Kingdom, but you should remember that the battlefield is huge. How did they know that you fly around the mountains alone? Did they set a trap and wait for you? Tang Emperor looked at Jian Wushuang as he asked. Hearing these words, Jian Wushuang and the other people felt very confused. Jian Wushuang frowned. He also felt that something was wrong, but he had no time to think about it before. Jian Wushuang, did you meet some experts from the Jin Kingdom when you flew near the Chiliwen Valley? Samsara Temple Master looked at him. No, Jian Wushuang shook his head. He only met the 4 kings in the battlefield, but never met an expert from the Jin Kingdom throughout. Could some experts from the Jin Kingdom have approached you, but you didn't notice them? Samsara Temple Master asked. That's impossible. Jian Wushuang shook his head again and spoke with confidence. He was very sure that no experts of the Jin Kingdom had approached him. Otherwise, he would have found them out early on. After he became a Tao Master, he lit the fire of soul and possessed strength of soul. If he exercised the strength of soul, he would be able to discover even a universe master who was hiding near him. Therefore, it was impossible for those experts to approach him secretly. You said that you didn't meet any experts from the Jin Kingdom, but they knew your location and set a trap ahead of time. There are only 2 possible reasons they were able to do this. Samsara Temple Master said in a low voice. First, an expert of the Jin Kingdom probably left a special mark on your body during the Battle of Dan Xian Palace, so that they could pinpoint your location. That's impossible, Sunrise Sword Emperor suddenly said. I saw Jian Wushuang outside the Dan Xian Palace, and then took him to the world of swords. If there was a special mark on his body, I would have noticed it. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. Gu King, who had a high vision and strong psychic ability, had stayed in that original body. He would have told Jian Wushuang if there was a mark in his body. There is the other possibility. Some spies or renegades are hiding in the Green Fire Palace, and they told the Jin Kingdom Jian Wushuang's location. Samsara Temple Master said coldly. Spies or renegades? Hearing this, the other 4 kings became very serious. Samsara Temple Master said with a smile. My original body is also on the battlefield and is not far away from there, so I'd be glad to bring your insect beast back personally. Sorry to trouble you, Jian Wushuang gratefully said. It's my pleasure. You need to tell me where your insect beast is. Samsara Temple Master thought that it was nothing and then smiled. After that, the 5 palace masters talked about it with Jian Wushuang for more than half a day, and then left, while Jian Wushuang continued to stay in the secret chamber. Moreover, Tang Emperor also stayed there to keep Jian Wushuang from being discovered. Meanwhile, the 5 palace masters immediately announced the news of Jian Wushuang's death to the holy masters from the Green Fire Palace. When people heard that Jian Wushuang had been assassinated and died on the battlefield, they felt very shocked. Is Jian Wushuang dead? The Jin Kingdom. The Jin Kingdom. Tianhuan King, Golden Rock King, Tianying King, and Red Snow King, who were said to have died, all appeared on the battlefield. They are famous universe masters, but they set a trap to assassinate Jian Wushuang, didn't they? They are so shameless. It's a pity that Jian Wushuang, a peerless genius, has died. I heard that Jian Wushuang had become a Tao Master. He had the same strength as our 5 palace masters. If he continued to exercise his skills, and then become a holy master in the future, he would probably have become the leader of our Green Fire Palace. But now he has died. Jian Wushuang is dead, but the Jin Kingdom also lost something. Jian Wushuang led the 4 kings of the Jin Kingdom to an impasse in a place called Chiliwen Valley before he died, and then they paid a great price for this. Tianying King seems to have been killed by Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang knew that he was doomed to die, so he tried his best to make the Jin Kingdom lose some more things. He is really good. The people of the Green Fire Palace were all discussing it. When the holy masters in the Green Fire Palace learned that Jian Wushuang had been assassinated by the kings from the Jin Kingdom, they felt very angry. But when they heard that he had killed a universe master of the Jin Kingdom and painted Red Snow King into a corner before he died, they were very shocked and felt great admiration. But in fact, what they felt most was regret. They felt sorry for Jian Wushuang, the peerless genius. That was because although Jian Wushuang was only a Dao master, he could fight against universe masters, and even killed one of them. If he hadn't died, he would have had a great future. Unfortunately, he had died. The Jin Kingdom had expected for Jian Wushuang to have greater strength in the future, and then become a disaster to their country. So they took pains to ask the four kings to assassinate him, and they succeeded. Chapter 1157, Secret Land. Chapter 1157, Secret Land. Time flew away. In a blink of an eye, 8 years had passed. Jian Wushuang's death had once stirred up great chaos in the Green Fire Palace, but with the elapse of time, their surprise and anger faded away. Shoo! All of a sudden, a bulky figure appeared above the vast battlefield near the Chilliwind Valley. He wore black armors and a black helmet, and there was a black unicorn on his forehead. He looked down at the ground coldly. "Here it is," Samsara Temple Master murmured. And then he sent a message to Jian Wushuang. "Jian Wushuang, I found the place. Let your worm beast show up." "Okay, wait a moment," Jian Wushuang responded. Soon he summoned Gu King. Parasitic on Jian Wushuang, Gu King was closely connected to him. As long as they were not far away, they could communicate with each other through consciousness. After receiving Jian Wushuang's message, Gu King came out from the depths of the ground. "Is this Jian Wushuang's worm beast?" Samsara Temple Master looked at Gu King and thought in surprise. After that he said, "Little thing, your master asked me to bring you back to him." "Little thing." Gu King grumbled in his heart. "When I traveled widely in the eternal chaotic world with King Luozhen, you brat were not yet born, and even this world had not yet come into being. How dare you call me little thing?" Angry as he was, Gu King did not lose temper. When his body shrank to the size of an adult's finger, he took a leap and perched on Samsara Temple Master. Although Samsara Temple Master traveled at an exceedingly fast speed, it still took him more than a decade to return to Green Fire Palace. "Jian Wushuang, your worm beast," Samsara Temple Master said, while handing Gu King to Jian Wushuang. "Thanks," Jian Wushuang said plainly, but secretly felt very much delighted to meet Gu King again. Soon enough, Gu King entered Jian Wushuang's body again. "Gu King, are you alright?" Jian Wushuang asked. When Gu King had been on the run back then, he took a blow from Red Snow King. "Look at me, do you think I got hurt?" Gu King responded with disdain. "You should worry about yourself. You're lucky to have 2 original bodies. Losing one of them will not threaten your life. Otherwise you would have died." Jian Wushuang was rendered speechless. His 2 original bodies was indeed a useful trump card, which benefited him a lot. However, his 2 original bodies could not exist forever. Now he was just a Dao master, so he could possess 2 original bodies at the same time. However, once he made a breakthrough and reached the level of a holy master, he would have to integrate his 2 original bodies into a Dharma body. At that time, he would only have 1 original body left. "Jian Wushuang, here are your treasures. Keep them well. To protect them, I even got badly hurt. If you're in danger again, don't expect me to escape away with your treasures again," Gu King said. "I have learned from this awkward experience. How could I put myself in such a situation again?" Jian Wushuang tittered, putting his treasure aside. He put on his blood-killing plate armor again. "It's a pity that Blaze Quicksand Gourd was lost in the Chilliwind Valley. I don't know if I can take it back one day," Jian Wushuang muttered. "It's just a Blaze Quicksand Gourd. It's not a big deal. The battlefield where you are is a huge treasure vault. As long as you have strong power, you can get whatever you want," Gu King responded, curling his lip. "You're right," Jian Wushuang laughed. In fact, he did not attach much importance to it either. In the following days, Jian Wushuang still waited in the secret chamber. After a couple of days, the 5 palace masters finally intended to lay hands on Golden Axe Holy Master. Within Greenfire Palace, Golden Axe Holy Master stood in a hall alone. He looked calm on the outside, but in fact he was feeling slightly nervous. Jian Wushuang died not long ago. Why did Sunrise Sword Emperor summon me here? Golden Axe Holy Master was lost in thought. Did he find out anything about me? It's impossible. Golden Axe Holy Master shook his head and comforted himself. I left no traces. Besides, Jian Wushuang already died. No one will know that he told his location to me before his death. Even Jian Wushuang himself would have never thought that it was me who betrayed him, since at that time he must have been busy fleeing from the kings of the Jin Kingdom. Even if the palace masters of the Greenfire Palace had perceived something suspicious on Jian Wushuang's assassination, they would never have been able to connect his death to me. Golden Axe Holy Master thought confidently. After all, a dead man could not talk. Jian Wushuang is dead, and no one knew that he talked to me before his death. I'll never be suspected. However, Golden Axe Holy Master did not know that Jian Wushuang was still alive. A moment later, two figures entered the hall. Baifeng Holy Master, Celestial Master Feng. Golden Axe Holy Master said smilingly. Golden Axe Holy Master, Baifeng Holy Master, and Celestial Master Feng greeted him cordially. Are you summoned here by Sunrise Sword Emperor as well? Golden Axe Holy Master asked. Yes. Baifeng Holy Master and Celestial Master Feng nodded at the same time. Golden Axe Holy Master was relieved, a hint of joy flashing across his eyes. Sunrise Sword Emperor did not summon me here alone. He also invited Baifeng Holy Master and Celestial Master Feng. It seems that he has met some problem in formation. He didn't summon us here because of Jian Wushuang. Golden Axe Holy Master thought with a sly smile on his face. Baifeng Holy Master and Celestial Master Feng were good at formation, and so was Golden Axe Holy Master. After a while, Sunrise Sword Emperor entered the hall. Here you are. Sunrise Sword Emperor looked down at them as he said, You three are proficient in formation. That's why I summoned you here today. I cannot tell you details here. I'll explain to you when we arrive at the destination. Yes, Palace Master. The three nodded solemnly. The three holy masters followed Sunrise Sword Emperor and headed for the battlefield. The four of them spent several years reaching a virgin area. There was a mysterious place at the bottom of the cliffs, which was under the restriction. What's this? The three holy masters gazed at this place with confusion. Lately I have passed above the cliffs and discovered this secret land by chance, Sunrise Sword Emperor explained. Secret land? Golden Axe Holy Master, Baifeng Holy Master and Celestial Master Feng were taken by great surprise. There were countless mysterious places on this vast battlefield, but only a few of them could be referred to as secret lands. Chapter 1158 Trap. Chapter 1158 Trap. A secret land? It's a secret land. Golden Axe Holy Master thought with surprise and excitement. The Greenfire Palace had been built on this battlefield 40 million years ago, and the experts of the palace had discovered only 3 secret lands since its foundation. The 3 secret lands full of occult had been of great help to the Greenfire Palace. For instance, Time's secret land could change the speed of time, and Sword Realm was a big fortune for sword principle cultivators. As for the Jin Kingdom, it had not occupied any secret land on this battlefield up till now. It was jealous of what the Greenfire Palace had, but it could not do anything except accept this fact. After all, the experts of the Jin Kingdom had migrated to this battlefield much later than those of the Greenfire Palace, and the discovery of a secret land relied upon time and opportunity. Now, Sunrise Sword Emperor claimed that he had found another secret land. The 3 holy master were astonished. I'm fortunate to enter this secret land once. I just stayed inside it for 1 day, but I had a very great harvest. In my eyes, perhaps its value is less than that of our Time's secret land, but it is much more valuable than Sword Realm, Sunrise Sword Emperor said with a smile. We Green Fire Palace must think of a plan to hold this amazing secret land. But now there's a restriction around the secret land. To occupy this land, we have to break the restriction. That's why I invited you here." After a pause, Sunrise Sword Emperor continued, "You three are formation masters. I hope you work together to break this restriction, and I'll have your back. Besides, this secret land is important to us. You must keep this secret land to yourselves before we entirely take it. Do you understand me?" "Yes, Palace Master." Bai Feng Holy Master and Celestial Master Feng nodded immediately. Golden Axe Holy Master agreed too. Now the excitement had overwhelmed him. "Haha, God bless our Jin Kingdom. Sunrise Sword Emperor discovered the fourth secret land and asked me to help with breaking the restriction. Most importantly, only Sunrise Sword Emperor is here. The Green Fire Palace has only 5 palace masters in total, and they perform their respective duties. If all of them had flocked here, they would have alerted the Jin Kingdom, and this place would have been exposed soon. That's why Sunrise Sword Emperor took us here to break the restriction. In this way, they can hold this secret land privately. What a perfect plan. However, you're doomed to fail. This secret land is bound to be the Jin Kingdom's property. As for Sunrise Sword Emperor, he's likely to be the leader of the Green Fire Palace. We have been planning to take his life all this time, and now we finally get a perfect opportunity." Golden Axe Holy Master thought as a hint of ferocity flashed across his eyes. The next moment, he secretly sent the news to the experts of the Jin Kingdom. When the high-ranking experts of the Jin Kingdom received the news, they were overjoyed and wasted no time sending experts to the secret land. "Let's get started," Sunrise Sword Emperor ordered. Golden Axe Holy Master and the other 2 Holy Masters walked up to the entrance of the secret land and began to work on the restriction, but Golden Axe Holy Master just pretended to do so. He did not know that the other palace masters of the Green Fire Palace were keeping a close watch on him. This place covered by the restriction was not a secret land at all. In fact, it was a trap that the Green Fire Palace had set a long time ago. At this moment, Samsara Temple Master, Void Temple Master, and Red Lotus gathered in a palace in the center of the restriction. They utilized this palace to hide their aura. Meanwhile, they observed what was happening outside the palace. If everything goes smoothly, the Jin Kingdom must have received the news by now, and their experts will arrive here soon. Void Temple Master sneered. "I selected this area on purpose. This place is not far from an opportunity land with space wormhole, and that land is under the Jin Kingdom's control. It'll take the experts of the Jin Kingdom just a couple of days to reach here," Red Lotus said in a cold voice. "We just need to wait here." Once those experts arrive, we'll give them a big surprise and expose Golden Axe's identity by the way, Samsara Temple Master said with a strong killing intent. They had planned to not only reveal Golden Axe's identity, but most importantly give a blow to the Jin Kingdom. The 4 palace masters would work together to eliminate the experts from the Jin Kingdom when they broke into this trap. Not to arouse Golden Axe's suspicion, they had brought Holy Master Bai Feng and Celestial Master Feng here. The 2 Holy Masters were ignorant of their plan, but they could be trusted. They could never be spies of the Jin Kingdom. They were elders who had lived for tens of millions of years and joined the Green Fire Palace long before the Jin Kingdom had moved here. Several days later, experts of the Jin Kingdom arrived. What happened next went as the Green Fire Palace had planned. The experts of the Jin Kingdom broke into the restriction, as they had been told that there was a secret land under it. As soon as they entered the place, they were ambushed. As 4 palace masters took action together, these experts suffered a great loss. Jian Wushuang and Tang Emperor were sitting inside a secret chamber of the Green Fire Palace. They were drinking their tea and waiting for the results. After a while, they received a message from Samsara Temple Master. "My guess is right. Golden Axe Holy Master is a spy of the Jin Kingdom." Jian Wushuang stood up, his eyes full of anger. "I never believed that there's such a good-tempered man in the world. It's not surprising that he's a spy of the Jin Kingdom. Gu King snorted inside Jian Wushuang's body. Tang Emperor took a sip of his tea and said smilingly, "Last time when the 4 kings of the Jin kingdom plotted to assassinate you, you managed to kill their Tianying king. Even Red Snow King has been missing since then. No one knew whether he's still alive. This time, we've not only tricked the Jin kingdom into a trap, but also killed one of their universe masters and badly hurt another too." Haha, losing 2 universe masters within several decades is a blow even to the Jin kingdom, said Jian Wushuang. Of course it is. Boy, it's all your credit, said Tang Emperor. Well, Jian Wushuang smiled, for he did not dare to take this credit. Now the 4 palace masters are on their way back. Besides, they haven't killed Golden Axe. They've taken him alive. Do you want to meet him when they come back? Tang Emperor asked. Yes, replied Jian Wushuang. With the fury in his eyes, he continued coldly. A man who concealed his real identity for years pretended to be a good man, and made me lose an original body. Of course, I have to meet him. Tang Emperor furrowed his brows. The 4 palace masters brought Golden Axe's holy master back to Greenfire Palace soon. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.